Cage Real Ranked episode is going live. Hello and welcome back to another Real Ranked. Today we're going to be talking about Nicolas Cage. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring in our panelists today, starting with Cameron.
Oh, hello.
How
Glad
are
to
you
be
doing?
here. I'm doing good. Maybe today wasn't the best day, but this is bound to make it better, right?
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully. All right. Well, let's bring in next up. We have John.
Well, hello there.
All right. We have Albert.
I am super not qualified to be in this panel, but I've watched my fair share of Nicolas Cage in the past few days, and I'm scared my inner Abed channeling his inner Nicolas Cage is going to come out randomly.
Are you a sexy cat?
That's a trigger word. You say it 3 times, it's going to happen.
It's like Candyman.
Right.
All right. And finally, we got Steven.
Hello.
All right. Are you guys excited to talk about Nick Cage today?
Oh,
I
yeah.
love him.
Absolutely.
He's the love of my life.
Greatest actor of our generation, unironic.
He always
I
gets all
can't think of another
That's an
one
interesting conversation.
off the top of my head. I really can't.
most charismatic. A true
All
movie
right.
star.
Well, today we're going to be doing a top 10 Nicolas Cage movies list. So this is based on the movies, not by the performances. But we will probably be talking about performances, given the time, just based on time. But all right, Albert. Should we?
Yes. What's happening?
Should we explain some of the rules for our top 10, or when we reveal our answer?
Okay, so you want me to explain it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go around the panel, seeing our rankings, our films top 10 list of Nicolas Cage films, starting with number 10. Each of us say number 10, and then we go to number 8, and we discuss obviously every time a movie is mentioned. But let's say I have a film that is higher in my list, and then Cameron says it as his number 10 or anything lower, basically than what I list. Then we'll be screaming out, "Not the bees," to indicate that we're gonna save that conversation when we reach my rank, when we reach that certain person's ranking.
Yeah.
And that can be used multiple times, obviously, because maybe some of us have it higher. Maybe the same film is like in everyone's list, but different order. So not the bees can happen times.
It looks like Colin is excited. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with my number 10 movie, which is The Croods: A New Age.
Yeah, no one's got that movie on
No
their
bees.
list, unfortunately.
No bees starting out. But I like The Croods. I gave it a rewatch last year, and I was like, oh, okay, this actually holds up a lot better. And then I watched the sequel earlier in the summer, and I thought it was a vast improvement. Like, I think the animation looks a lot better too, like because it's been a couple years. It's almost 10 years, I think, like since the first one came out. The voice cast is still great. Especially newcomers like Peter Dinklage and Leslie Mann, and Kelly Marie Tran is just she's such a good voice actor. Yeah, I really like her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the creatures look great, just like the first movie. I think they had really cool creature designs. And I just enjoyed the story a lot more. Like I just thought it was a lot more fun. So
How was the Nick Cage performance?
Nick Cage is great. I like him as he's a good voice actor. It's always fun to
Yeah,
hear him.
surprisingly, yeah.
He's pretty good in it.
Anyone else seen The Croods: A New Age?
I have seen this film. I like this film. Some parts I like this more than the original. Some parts I like the original more than this one. But it's a lot of fun. It's no one's asking for the sequel, really. I'm still demanding my Monster vs. Aliens sequel. That's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah,
But
come
yeah,
on.
no one's really asking for this. But I mean, the voice cast is really good, like you said. Returning, everyone else returning as well, and I mean, I don't have much thoughts really. It's just it's a fine animated film, you know.
Yeah, fair.
It did well at the box office, didn't it?
I don't know.
I think it did
I don't
pretty
know.
well.
DreamWorks best
cinema.
known for making sequels that nobody asked for. So
Yeah.
Post big
came out,
family
like, right
business.
smack dab
Let's
in the-
go.
It came out like smack in the middle of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Is that how that
Yeah.
worked, or
basically,
was it released? Yeah, remind me. Was it released to streaming directly, or did it play in theaters too,
no.
or was it
I
a
think
mix
there
of
was an
both?
8 episode run. Yeah, I'm sure
Checking
there's.
right now.
Okay, yeah.
There
Yeah,
was
because
a theatrical.
I seen this movie or the original Cruise, but I seem to remember it was one of those like animated movies that like kept the kept the movie industry like alive when everybody was locked in their homes. That and what like Trolls World Tour or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have much else to add except I don't think Nick Cage doesn't have any other voice roles, right? So I'd like to see more
Not that I
of
can.
that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, there's
Well,
another one. Yeah.
Well,
He has a
I
couple
think there's
just
the
looking
obvious
through.
one, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
like this is definitely his like. He has a bigger role in this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Like,
it's only his leading animated voice
yeah.
actor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I would welcome more. Let's see what else. he's got.
absolutely.
For sure. All right. Well, I guess we can go to Albert. What is your number 10?
Okay, my number 10 is Wind Talkers.
Not the bees.
The first one.
All
Yeah,
right.
I still haven't seen this movie, so maybe I would have said Not the Bees as well, but
Yeah, me too. Maybe.
So just for saving that conversation.
Probably not. Probably not, Cameron. Probably not.
All right. I guess we will go to Cameron next.
Okay, well, Albert said he isn't qualified to speak about Nick Cage. Well, I'm even less qualified. I wish I have seen, or I was able to watch more of his lead roles before this, but my number 10 is Willy's Wonderland.
Not the bees.
Oh my god!
What? Okay.
Oh my god! But
I didn't see that coming.
yeah, this movie, I don't know. It was fun.
Hey, well, Cameron, I said not the bees.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about it later.
But yeah, all right. Let's go. Let's go to John for your number 10.
All right. I know somebody that might be watching this is going to give me some shit for this, but my number 10 is the film National Treasure.
Not the bees.
Not the
Not the
bees.
bees.
Okay. Okay.
I am not saying anything.
All right,
It's
Steven,
not
all
on
you
my
then.
list, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I want to, Matthew. I hope you didn't mix this up because I gave you an old number 10. You changed it, right?
It should be different. Yeah.
Okay. So my number 10 is Mandy. Yes.
Not the bees.
Not the bees.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
So many bees right off the start.
We got a lot of these today, but I guess let's just go quickly into our number 9, my number 9, which is actually Willy's Wonderland. So yeah, still like near the bottom. But Cameron, do you want to go first for Willy's Wonderland?
Yeah, sure. So I had to put this on my list because I haven't seen more of his lead roles, but this is kind of it's an anomaly how bad it is in every aspect, but he has such a weird, kind of iconic performance, and he only makes noises.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
He doesn't.
I don't know.
Face.
He is the reason that this is somewhat watchable, and I don't know. It's just so strange.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Cage is definitely like the best part of the movie. I think none of the other like characters are really like great actors. They're just kind of
No, no.
But
No.
it's a fun time. It's a fun B movie. It's fun to see Nick Cage beat up these animatronics.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the kills, but I don't think Nick Cage was particularly good in this movie, and like that's rare for me at least. Because he kind of seemed like he was phoning it in, and I don't feel like he does that very often, even when his performances that I've seen. He's definitely phoned it in before, probably, but like he usually goes for it regardless, and he goes for it when he's on screen. But there's a lot of moments where it feels like they like wrote him out of the movie because he didn't want to be there, maybe.
And whenever he isn't there, then it's very hard to watch. So
yeah, it's like a really bad slasher, and I'm not a fan of slashers to begin with, but I did enjoy watching it to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
it was a very unique experience for sure.
Yeah, me and Cameron had fun watching it together. You know?
Yeah. It was pretty nuts.
All right, John. Have you...
I mean, I haven't seen this movie, so I can't really comment. But Five Nights at Freddy's is cool, I guess. I don't know. I liked going to Chuck E. Cheese when I was 6. Does that count? Have I seen the movie? Is that enough? I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested in the fact that, like you said, Nicolas Cage like doesn't really say anything. Like he just kind of grunts and stuff, right? So,
Yep, that's all he does.
I don't know. From the trailer, it looked like he did not want to be there at all. So I guess that's true. Yeah, I won't say anything.
He produced the movie though. He produced the movie, so maybe like that further. He probably produced it. Like, listen, I'll throw money at it because I don't want like I don't know.
Yeah, he's got to pay off that dinosaur skull somehow. So
yeah, he does.
All right.
Yeah, I've never seen this film. It's a new release, is it?
Yeah,
pretty new.
Earlier this year.
I think I've heard of this and like the concept of the Five Nights at Freddy's kind of thing, but I think at one point I considered watching it. I just never got to it. But maybe I'll check it out one of these days. I don't know. It seems very absurd. But yeah,
it's pretty dumb, but you could watch it with some friends drunk and have a good time. I think.
Try not to pay money for it. Probably.
It's on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
why
there
I
you go.
watched this. Yeah.
Perfect.
I think one of my favorite parts is like when he just like opens the can of soda and then plays pinball like, multiple times.
Yeah, they've had. And there's a lot of pinball.
Every time he opens a can of soda, he goes like.
I know.
Every time he drinks it, he's like. Gulp.
And we were watching. When we were watching, we were excited for the next like noise he was going to make for the soda.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it resorted to.
It's compelling stuff. That's Albert's turn.
I think that's enough.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that's. We'll go to Albert next.
All right. So my number 9 is Moonstruck.
Oh, okay.
Has anyone else seen this?
I have.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll start. So Moonstruck is 1982, I think 87 film. Nicolas Cage. He have a supporting role in this one. The main lead is Cher, the singer, and the overall film was pretty boring up until Nick Cage show up, and then it's a little bit more interesting just because of his character as well. And the overall film was like all right. There's some funny moments. I really love the ending. Just the ending of the movie is just if you haven't seen it, it's probably one of the funniest ending I've ever seen. Well, not the funniest ending ever, but like it suddenly take a very steep turn in terms of comedy from the whole movie. It's a movie about Cher trying to find love, and then eventually finds Nick Cage, and then like they just like fell in love together, and it's fun. It just, I don't know. This film has been my watch list for the longest time, and when this panel happened, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna speed it up and try to check it out. And I'm like, okay, it's pretty good. Nick Cage made it worth to watch.
Well, if I'm the only other person, I guess I'll go next. My memory of this movie is a little bit murky just because it's been so long since I've seen it. But basically Albert's comments would basically be mine. I remember, and mind you, this is a memory from like almost, probably 8 years ago. I remember kind of like sort of not really getting into it until the very end, where you have like, the funny stuff happen.
Yeah.
But I did go back and refresh my memory a little bit on some clips, and I mean, Cher, and it's basically an acting reel for like great performances, I'd say. Like Nick Cage is pretty great. Cher, even if it didn't excite me at the time, I mean, she's pretty good, and there are other supporting roles in here too, like Danny Aiello, right? He's in that.
Danny Aiello is there.
Yeah, I remember him. I remember liking, his presence as well. So yeah. I mean, Norman Jewison. What are you gonna say? It's delightful. I remember it being delightful, but I can't really say too much more about it than that. So
yeah,
sorry.
There is one particular scene that is just like, when I watch it, I'm like, oh, that is such a Nick Cage moment. I don't even know. They're just having a regular conversation, Cher and Nicolas Cage, and then he just suddenly got super angry. Like. It was normal, and suddenly he just got super angry, and then he stand up and like very passive aggressively flip a table. And like just start screaming.
You can't have a normal conversation with Nick Cage.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to get around to it because I want to see more Nick Cage roles where he's actually pretty young. I've only seen one or two movies that he's in where he's pretty young. And
dude, he's hot in this movie. Like he
really pretty hot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not. When he was young, like he didn't look that bad, but got old. He's like 60 now, so he's really getting up there. Actually,
the march of time.
How was there are 2 Oscar wins for acting, right? For the movie.
Did it win?
I know Cher won for sure.
Nick Cage was. It might have been.
Oh yeah,
Danny
it did. It did. Cher won for Best Actress. What's his name? Olympia Dukakis won for Supporting Actress, and then it also won Original Screenplay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I didn't.
Very Italian movie too.
It's super. It's super Italian and super New York Italian.
Yeah.
Like the name.
They gabagool it up in this movie, which is always welcome in my opinion. So.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right.
Let's go to Cameron.
All right. So my number 9. Well, this is an interesting pick. My number 9 is The Wicker Man. Yeah. I didn't expect any bees there. Now,
I mean,
The irony.
I know, but this probably wouldn't be here if I had the chance to watch more of his lead roles. But this movie is just so like batshit in such a weird way. Like I put it higher than Willy's Wonderland because it's horrible, but you can't take your eyes off the screen. Like there's just so many weird, confusing things going on just with what's happening in the movie and all the weird performances, especially Nick Cage. Like he's strangely always angry and really rude. Such a dick in this movie to everybody. And there's just crazy stuff that happens. Like he has weird visions that randomly happen, and you don't know what's real, what's fake, but the bees are real.
Sure it is.
Yeah. All right.
Not even in the real movie. That's like a deleted scene, right? Like,
is it really?
Oh, I guess it depends on which version you see, I guess.
Oh, right. Does the director's cut preserve more of the artistry? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, one time it depends on what platform I watched it on, but I saw it somewhere and it did have the B scene, and in another place it didn't. So I don't know if it was some kind of cut, a director's cut or what. But yeah, you never know.
All right. Has anyone else seen The Wicker Man?
Nobody.
No.
The
I am. Yeah. I don't think.
Good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I'm glad this is on your list. I love it. I love idiosyncratic picks like that. Like, dude, good on you if you love The Wicker Man. Like, that's awesome.
So, were we only supposed to pick movies where he has like a leading role?
No, you don't. You didn't.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. It's whatever. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I only have one where he's not the lead, I think. But
Me too. But
well, maybe.
See, I think we're going to John next.
All right, my number 9 pick is a movie called Mom and Dad. Nobody?
I guess you can take it away.
No, big surprise there. Okay, Mom and Dad is directed by a guy named Brian Taylor. He directed the movie. I don't know if you could go from title just alone. Am I breaking up?
Cut out.
I don't know.
Cut out.
Okay, sorry. This movie was directed by Brian Taylor. One of the movies that he directed was called Gamer. That can pretty much tell you, sort of what's going on. So, the big idea of Mom and Dad is that one day, in this like suburban American town, all of the moms and dads, right, the titular moms and dads in the community get the urge, the compulsion to start killing their kids, like their own kids. And that's the movie, basically it. And Nick Cage is in it. And Selma Blair plays the mother figure, and she's really great in it. I'm going to say right off the bat, this movie, not great in a conventional sense. There's lots of scenes that don't really flow together. But the scenes that work are just incredible. There's a great scene sort of towards the beginning of the movie when the parents start to get the urge to kill their children, and you see all of the kids are in school. Nick Cage's family has two children, and they're both kind of similar age. And you see like the scene where all the parents are just like walking to the school gates, and there's just this moment where just like pandemonium happens, and like the parents scale the walls to the school, and they start running, chasing after their kids. And like, it's not really like a bloody movie, actually. Like there's not a whole lot of like on-screen violence, but there's lots of implied violence. Like they're crazy whips through the schoolyard where parents are like jumping on top of their kids, stabbing their kids off screen. It's a great time. But the single best scene is obviously Nick Cage. Whenever he's on screen, it's the best time because Nick Cage in this movie plays kind of like the Kevin Spacey dad character from American Beauty, except better. He's sort of fed up with his job. He's fed up with the direction of his life, and he just goes nuts. He goes nuts with it. This is one of like the most Nick Cage performances, like where he just kind of goes wild. I know people are sort of turned off by that, but that's one of my favorite. I can't do this movie justice just by talking about it. There's a great scene where Nick Cage has built a pool table, and Selma Blair's character is like, "Well, why did you do this? We can't afford this." And the dude goes berserk, and he sings the Hokey Pokey, and he starts breaking down the table with a hammer. Like it's just like, yeah, exactly. I can't like explain it to you and have it do justice. I would just encourage you to just look it up on YouTube and watch it, or just watch the movie. It's just incredible. Incredible stuff. It's not a great movie. It's not a perfect movie. Like personally, I think there needs to be more on-screen violence. Like there's really no good way to put this, but I think like more kids need to die on screen. Like it's not quite. It doesn't have like the edge to it that I think it needs. But
this is so messed up.
It's like, yeah, that's messed up. But anyway, sorry, I'm gonna stop blabbering on about it.
Like it.
I love this movie. So great. If
you have seen Extraction, I think like the best scene was when Chris Hemsworth picked up the kids and started like throwing them around.
That's not actually a movie that I like that much, but yeah, I agree. Anytime get thrown around and stuff, it's a good time.
It could be a good stress reliever for parents when they watch that.
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
just gonna try to find a clip on the YouTube trying to see Nick Cage do the hokey pokey because I cannot get that out of my mind right now.
When any scene where he like talks about how wide, because Nick Cage's character in the past, it was like kind of a wild man, like cool, great cars. He's sort of like a whoremonger character. That's one thing that the movie actually does badly, is that there's so many when he was like a kid or a teenager, where it starts that like really ruins the flow. But anytime he's like has some monologue about how his life is boring now, it's great, good stuff. And the movie also has a really excellent twist at the end, which I won't spoil. But yeah, just love it. It's good, great. Okay, sorry.
I have to see it now.
No, I am.
No, it's in my watch list already. So.
Okay.
I still don't know if I'll just one last thing. I still don't know if I'm gonna watch this just because when you said the director Brian Taylor, I know where that guy's from. I've seen one film from him that stars Nicolas Cage in one of the worst. I've seen a lot of comic book movies. This is one of the worst comic book movies I've ever seen. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, the sequel, that's directed by that guy, and I'm like, yikes. So, yeah, just want to say that.
Yeah, it is Brian Taylor, right? Yeah.
Give
I need to
him
double
another
check
shot.
that. Okay.
Yeah, Neville Dean and Taylor.
All right, that's all I got. Sorry, Steven, all you.
Yeah, I think my number 9 isn't gonna be spoken about much yet, but it is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Not the bees.
Not the bees coming. Yeah, unsurprisingly.
All right.
And that is not a detriment to the film. It's more that Nick Cage has pretty good filmography, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 8 is National Treasure.
Not the Beast.
Oh wow, you guys have this high on your list.
Well,
They
I'm
haven't
confused.
seen enough
I'm gonna say
hidden treasures in his filmography.
Okay, so it's me.
All right. Yeah.
My number 8 is the prequel to Matthew's number 10, The Croods, the original The Croods. So yeah, I mean, I was saving a little bit of my thoughts there because I don't want to spoil it. But I prefer this film slightly more than the original. Also, Nicolas Cage have a bigger role in this film because the sequel, they focus with a second family and that there's like more expanded cast. This one is more on the main core of the Croods family. And if you don't know what this film is, it's basically just Nicolas Cage as a caveman and trying to survive as a caveman with his family, and then come this guy voiced by Ryan Reynolds, who's like modernizing everything, and he's trying to keep everything like old school and everything. So it's fun seeing Nick Cage as this father figure of a character to Emma Stone's character, and I just enjoy the family dynamic. There's also good quips in this film that I really enjoy, and just his banter. My favorite part is just his banter back and forth between his character and Ryan Reynolds' character, because it's like Ryan Reynolds like this young new kid on the block kind of thing, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the father. I know everything better," So yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, it's hard to one up Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to bring this up earlier, but I think the one thing that I just don't really like the overprotective parent trope, and it's used in The Croods, but that's the only thing holding it back for me. I think that everything else is still really enjoyable, and great score. I think action is pretty exciting. So yeah, who's?
I saw this movie, I think, in theaters or at a drive-through or drive-in. Oh my gosh,
Drive-through.
Drive-in, or it might have just been in a theater. But I barely remember it because I was a kid. There's a character like the baby or the pet. What's its name? It's like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, the baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the baby's name? It's like baby something. What is it?
Sandy, right?
Is it? I
Oh.
don't remember.
Maybe it's the pet. There's like a nickname
Belt.
they used.
If you're talking about pet, it's Belt. I think.
The baby
Okay,
is
never
Sandy.
mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some like they say something, or maybe the pet said something, or the baby said something. And my family like used it as a catchphrase. I don't even remember what the catchphrase is now.
This is the pet. Dun dun dun.
I don't know, dude.
No.
I don't know. Maybe it's not even from that movie, but I thought it might have been. So
but you know
that's
what I
pretty much all I got
may
about
never
it.
know.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw it, but I don't remember almost anything about it, unfortunately. But yeah, because I was pretty young. But yeah, I remember enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. All right, John, do you have anything to say?
Like I said with the other Croods movie, I haven't seen this one, so no comments. Except I guess I'll go ahead and say again, I'd like more Nick Cage in animated roles because it's just something I haven't seen. So
He's getting
Let's
up
go
there now. So
to Cameron.
okay.
You're not-
I doubt this is gonna be on anyone else's higher up, but you never know. My number 8 is National Treasure, Book of Secrets. And you know, I haven't seen it really recently, but I will say it's not that much worse from the first one.
I think it's about on par. with
Yeah.
the quality.
It's and that's why it's on this list because it's not horrible, and it gets pretty crazy. Just the whole concept of National Treasure is just kind of hilarious and its own gimmick. So yeah, this was not too bad. And it's on here because it's honestly not that much worse than the original. I still think it's a little bit worse, but the fact that it's so close in quality just kind of astonishes me.
I just want to say that isn't Bruce Greenwood the president in that movie?
He is.
He always is the president. Like I don't know what it is. Is Harvey Keitel, is he in it again?
He's in it again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, he's
nice.
and that can only help.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen this movie.
Yeah, it's actually got like a pretty
Really?
stacked cast.
I'm surprised, Matthew. I would have
I-
expected.
I was halfway rewatching this just before the show. I have like 30 minutes left of the film. And I'm with Cameron. I don't hate it. I don't really understand the hate for it. People apparently really despise it. I'm curious what John Seven said in the thing, and he's making faces, so I'm curious what he's gonna say.
No,
I think people's
promise
biggest-
it's not bad.
I think people's biggest criticism is because it's the same trope again, and they just do it in a worse way. That's why people criticize it, I think. But I thought it's fun. Obviously, this plot is not as good as the first one, and it's kind of more insane. But I still think it's a pretty fun film, nevertheless.
Hmm.
Steven, do you want to go or?
I guess I'll also say I think I remember enjoying the final action set piece in this film. They're on Mount Rushmore, and I think or something. And then they bring in more family dynamics, and there's more comedy to it. I think so. It's kind of fun too. It's been a long time, but I might have seen it more than once as a kid, so I have enough of a memory of it.
Hmm.
I think it's basically as good as the first, and yeah, that's all I got.
Hmm.
I don't go on too long.
All right, John.
Yeah, I'll go really quickly. So this movie isn't on my list, but frankly, I like personally enjoy the first National Treasure better. Just it probably for nostalgia purposes, which is something I rarely ever sort of attribute to me liking a film for. But yeah, everything I love about the first National Treasure, which I will save until we actually get to the first National Treasure somewhere on this list. Everything I love about this movie, I love about National Treasure 2 Book of Secrets, because it just everything up. Like it gets so involved in the movie's like little mythos, which is just like, you know, American trivia, like American history trivia.
Yeah.
And but this is basically just a more insane version of that. One of my friends on Letterboxd puts it pretty nicely. It's like it's a movie where Nicolas Cage has an underground meet cute with the president of the United States. Like how could that not be something that people want to see on TV? Like it's great. So I'll keep it at that.
I'll say this though, both this film and the sequel, the FBI does the worst job possible. Like, how the heck do you not capture this guy? How does he escape him throughout the whole two films?
Nick Cage is just that slippery.
Okay. If that's it, well, let's go on to John's number 8 pick.
All right, I think this is probably going to get beezed, but my number 8 is the Richard Stanley film Color Out of Space.
Not the bees.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Okay.
It'll come up soon enough.
Yeah. And
All
I'm
right.
very excited for that to happen.
All right. My number 8 is Wild at Heart. This is a fun movie. It's David Lynch, so it's got some weird moments, but this story's pretty straightforward. You got the two lovers defying all these people around them and their crazy wild adventure. Just like they're like, we love each other and we're gonna do some crazy shit, and there's some wild sex and some wild violence, and you got a great cast. Willem Dafoe is like amazing in this, but I mean Nick Cage, he's like, there's this like one cut where he's like, let's go baby, and then like Laura Dern's like dancing on the bed and she's like tapping her toes, she's like yeah, and then like zooms into her feet and then like cuts, like yeah, I don't know, I like that part a lot. There's some really just like nifty edits and visual choices, and Nick Cage's costumes are not cut, but like what he's costume, the costume design in this is pretty great. Nick Cage, he has like his favorite coat, and he's like it's representation of like my independence and my expression of freedom or something like that, and it's awesome. It's something like that. That's not what he says exactly, but yeah, it's just, and it's a good movie. Maybe one of my lesser David Lynch films, but not at all bad by any means. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I have not seen this one, but I do need to watch it because I just need to watch more Lynch. So
yeah, it's fun. I feel like it would get better on a rewatch because it is, like a lot of Lynch's films, very character based. You still get some surreal moments for sure. So it's not, there's certainly his stamp is on it. But yeah, Nick Cage is great. Laura Dern and him have a great dynamic. Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that and get to Wild at Heart and Red Rock West. That's hard to say, but those were two I wanted to get to, but I didn't have time. It's really depressing.
Yeah, I've never seen this film as well. My only knowledge of this film is that I looked over the Wikipedia page once when I was trying to write a question for Nick Cage category, so I know the existence of the film, but I don't really know much about it. But yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen this movie, so I won't comment. But like Matthew said, I'm interested in watching more David Lynch. I'm about halfway through his films, so this one will be next. Since after Steven's comments, my interest is
That's all. That's all I got. So Matthew can go on.
All right. Well, moving on to my number 7 pick. It is The Rock.
Not the bees. Unsurprisingly.
Okay, let's go to Albert then.
Okay, my number 7. It's going to be Face Off.
Not the
Not the
bees.
bees. Not the bees.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, Cameron, what is your number 7 pick?
All right. Well, I doubt we'll get bees here, but my next one is Frozen Ground. Yeah.
That's the John Cusack one, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's watchable. And that's fine.
What the heck?
It's watchable. It, I think it's a little more watchable than the second National Treasure, and Nick Cage is kind of playing a different kind of role here a little bit, and the story's fairly engaging, and it's cool to see him and John Cusack in a movie together. It's not the most original at all, as you might expect, but I enjoyed it. I remember watching it with family. It was just on TV randomly, and it was engaging enough for us all to sit there, especially because of Nick Cage. Because you're just wondering, okay, Nick Cage is in it. You have to ask why. And yeah, it's nothing groundbreaking at all, but I don't know. I just kind of liked it. The story was kind of interesting, and it's not too bad. But I can't say much more than that. There's not much more to say about it than that for me.
I'm just gonna ask. So, wasn't that the movie that was like number 1 on Netflix at some point? Like, I think it was.
I don't doubt it.
I don't remember.
Probably like.
Are you
maybe
thinking of Buller?
during the pandemic. What is it?
Are you thinking of
it's not
Polar,
numbered
the
down.
Mads Mikkelsen movie?
I don't think maybe.
'Cause both of them
I
start
didn't
with
think-
Legends, so
I don't know. I thought it was that one, but whatever.
Yeah, if you need something to watch and you're running out of Nick Cage movies, there
Is
you
it
go.
based on a true story?
it
I
is.
think it is. I think
Loosely,
it is.
yeah. I think
Okay.
so. Which that adds to it a little bit to make it kind of interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Okay, nice.
All right.
Love it. Love the idiosyncratic
John-
picks. My pick actually already got Not the Bees. It was Face Off, so I will pass the mic over to
Not
Steve.
the bees. Yes,
Not the
I will not the
bees.
bees. You
Yeah.
again.
Okay, so we both
Um,
have it at 7.
So I will go. My number 7 is Color Out of Space.
All right, let's
I know
go.
John was looking forward to talking about this one. I just watched. This was the one Nick Cage I watched most recently. I actually bought the Blu-ray. It was $5 at Walmart. I said, "All right," and I'm glad I did because it's a fun movie. There's some pretty good horror in here as well. There's some disturbing stuff for sure. If you like The Thing, there's more of that. A little, also some CG, but it's not. I don't think it's awful or anything. It is low budget, and there's like a particular shot. There's just like a bug, and like it's CG, and they do a good job of like rack focusing or whatever. So like, it looks more realistic because it's low budget, but like they have everything out of focus and it's like in the foreground. So like they're smart about the way they use their effects here. But anyway, the movie itself, it started and it's not like super untraditional. Like it's just this family, you get to know them, and then comet hits the Earth, and that's when things get interesting. It's based
Very
off H.P.
purple.
Lovecraft. Yeah, it's based off an H.P. Lovecraft story. So naturally, things are weird. It's set in the modern time, though, so that's an interesting spin on it. Yeah, pretty good performances all around. Nick Cage is his usual awesome self here. he does a good job, and it works very well. I think his crazy Cage, because like his character is shown to be more, early on he's sane, and but then things start to get crazy, and that's when his character takes a turn. But he's not the only one that gets weird. So there's a lot of people getting weird in this one, and it's pretty fun to watch. Not for the squeamish, I would say. There are certainly moments that had my stomach churning, and definitely I was feeling a little tense at moments as well. But yeah, definitely worth a watch. Good Halloween watch for sure.
Should I go over to you, Matthew, or can I take over here?
I haven't seen this one. It's I wanted to watch it, but it's streaming, so I didn't get around.
All right.
Albert.
I've never seen it. I know of it, but I've never got a chance to see this one yet. So
Yeah, same here. Like this has been on my watch list for a long time. I've been really wanting to, but yeah, it wasn't on streaming or anything. But I'm gonna see if I can watch it in October, maybe for the spooky season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steven, I agree. I think this movie is great. I love this film. So I guess I should just to carry on like sort of baton from Steven, is that when the comet hits the Earth, what happens is that there's this purple haze, the titular color out of space, that starts to sort of encapsulate everything. In the original short story, the color out of space is supposed to be like this alien life form that like the color of which you can't like perceive. Like humans are literally unable to like understand what it is. It's H.P. Lovecraft. Like his whole shtick, like in his horror writing, is that it's supposed to be like dread of something that you don't understand. It's supposed to be, like the cosmic horror or weird horror. And in that regard, I think Richard Stanley here, unfortunately, a real piece of shit person, but as a director with this specific film, he does a really good job, I think, of really capturing sort of the existential, not only like the existential dread of most H.P. Lovecraft that I've read, but also I think he carries his style, like his literal writing style over too, which doesn't sound right if you've maybe read H.P. Lovecraft and seen this movie, because there's also so much weird stuff going on in this film. Like, okay, Steven's kind of underselling it a little bit when he says that this movie is weird, because there is so much weird shit that happens in this movie. Some of it's like, kind of just like, oh, that's like a weird thing. Like the movie opens with the daughter of the family, like doing this occult ritual on like the top of this hill. And then she comes down like dressed up in like this sort of witch outfit, like riding a white horse, which is a very odd image, right? And there's also like a really bizarre scene of Nick Cage here. His Nick Cageiest, even more than Mom and Dad. Like this is most Nick Cage performance. His performance comes off as like a little bit like Donald Trump. Honestly, do you agree with me, Steven? That,
yep.
Like,
there's some. Well, apparently that's how his character is in Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah.
I have not seen that, unfortunately. That's one I didn't think about. I didn't really prep for this list. And I was like, if I had, besides Color Out of Space, I was like, if I had, I would have probably watched Vampire's Kiss as well.
Yeah.
But apparently the performance is very similar because he's going for a yuppie.
Yeah. There are all sorts of minor So like there are all sorts of minor details that you look at and you're just like, that's kind of odd. Like for instance, the movie takes place on an alpaca farm. Nick Cage is an alpaca farmer. That's like a totally normal job that somebody would do. And then the movie like goes through those little like weird things that happen to just outright just bizarre. Like I don't even know. Like the color out of space, this alien entity. Like I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to spoil things, but like he fuses life forms. He takes. It really ramps up the body horror. Like if you like Stuart Gordon or like Brian Usna films, he really channels that here. And also, like Steven said, I've heard a lot of people say that it's like that he also channels The Thing in the movie, like with its like kind of body
John
horror.
Carpenter. There's some other like In the Mouth of Madness also has that element to it. I can't. I mean, he's done it a few times in his films. So.
So I won't go too much longer, but just to talk about Nick Cage in this movie is that it's true. What I said is true. This is his most Nick Cage performance. Like, there's the whole like unnaturalistic, German expressionists, nouveau shamanistic, type of acting that he peddles in every interview that he does, which is cool. But this is not that. This is Nick Cage being Nick Cage. But there's also like moments that it's just like his deliveries in between the craziness that's really interesting to me. Okay, so there's this one scene towards the end of the movie where he's in the car like trying to run away from the alien entity, the color out of space, and he's trying to get away from his farm and to get away from some family circumstances that happen in the movie that I won't spoil, but and the car won't start. He just goes nuts. He goes wild. He screams at it, just like expletives flying everywhere. And then he walks back into the house with his 2 children, totally exhausted, and just says, "Well, the car isn't happening." I don't really capture it like that, but like it's that space in between like these wild outbursts of Nick Cage energy, of which in this movie there are so many, that I find really I don't want to say compelling because that's like kind of pretentious, but what I found interesting.
It sounds compelling to me.
Yeah. This
I didn't want to undersell it. I guess like John, but I do think it's one of those movies you have to watch for yourself. Yeah. I can't really describe, and I think the less you know, the better. Definitely, because I just knew it was gonna get weird, and it had Nick Cage performance that was kind of weird, and like I knew things were gonna get. It had horror. Now it's like, yeah, it lived up to it and more. So.
Yeah, there's a scene, and the movie's also like, not only is it crazy and horror and chock full of dread, it's also like the end I feel is pretty moving. Like throughout the movie, there's the family dynamic. There's Nick Cage's wife and his 2 kids, and then there's also sort of like another, what is it, like a kind of like a romantic interest of the daughter, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
right?
It's kind of that.
Yeah, and so like the family dynamic is actually quite moving, and then the color out of space, like I said earlier, it sort of like transmogrifies, like living flesh into this body horror stuff, and that happens to one of the characters in Nick Cage's family. It also happens to Nick Cage himself, but and the scene where like the family is looking over at this kind of monstrous creation, and they're like trying to figure out what to do. It's very like actually genuinely moving stuff. Like it's I don't really know. It's like. It's so hard to describe, but I found it like pretty emotional. It's an emotionally charged scene.
Yeah.
And Nick Cage, during the scene, Nick Cage does Nick Cage. Like, he does his Nick Cage thing, and it still works for me. I don't know. It might not work for other people, but this, yeah. I don't know. Go watch this movie. I love it. It's great. Steven, great choice.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Well, so for my picks, because I wanted my top 5 to only be Nicolas Cage lead roles, this is why it is at number 6. It is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Not the Beast.
All right.
Right. Well, let's go to Albert's number 6 then.
Okay, my number 6 is that film right there, Mandy.
Not the Bees.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. My number 6 is National Treasure.
Not the Beast.
Wow, that's really high on your list. Okay.
Get pumped.
All right. I think it's my turn. My number 6 is the Martin Scorsese film Bringing Out the Dead.
Oh, Not the Bees.
Okay, I was expecting that. Okay.
Yeah. What's the next one on those? Okay, it's Rumblefish is number 6 for me. This is he doesn't have much of a role here, Nick Cage. So as all the other movies, he seems to have a bit more of a role. So I will shout out Leaving Las Vegas as the honorable number 11. And that was his Oscar-winning performance. I haven't seen it in a while, so there's that, but it just barely missed the list. Color Out of Space booted it off. But yeah, Rumblefish, very great coming of age film. You know, it's an art house movie. You know, Francis Ford Coppola, he kind of moved more toward these smaller scale underground, maybe not underground, but underseen or just not as mainstream films in the 80s and after Apocalypse Now. And it's pretty awesome. There's a lot of really nifty lighting. It's all black and white with some color for the fish in the movie, and it's pretty cool. I really enjoy it. I'm trying to think. Matt Dillon, the lead. It's actually it's the same crew for The Outsiders. It's also based off an S.E. Hinton novel. So for whatever reason, The Outsiders is the more well-known one. It makes sense. It is a bit more graspable. It's more wide. I can see why it's a bit more popular just because it's a bit more wide attention.
I read it
for a wide audience. And yeah, The Outsiders book seems to be a bit more celebrated than the Rumblefish source material as well. But yeah, this one is based on S.E. Hinton's novel. Same crew as The Outsiders, came out the same year. Similar casting choice. Matt Dillon is also in The Outsiders. He's the lead here. You have Diane Lane. It's like his love interest. And yeah, it's just a lot of cool character interactions. Nick Cage, the score is amazing. The soundtrack, very good. Don't Box Me In is a very good song. And the final shot in this movie is just beautiful. There's a lot of really beautiful shots, but the black and white photography works so well for this movie. And there's a lot of like very, German smoke, like German expressionist. I don't know if that's the right term, but it's influenced by that, I think. And like there's that smoke screen and very, expressionistic style. There's a fight scene in the movie in particular that really showcases that, and it's very cool. And it's the only Francis Ford Coppola movie in the Criterion Collection, which is interesting.
Is that true? Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
And so, yeah, that's pretty cool. There was one thing I maybe was going to say. I don't know. There was something. But then I got distracted with the Criterion Collection thing. You know what? It's okay. I said enough. Go watch it yourselves. It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really intriguing. I know I've been kind of wanting to watch it. I've heard things about it here and there, but now I definitely want to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I also want to watch it, but I haven't got
Yeah, I'm trying to. I mean, when I watched it, it was on Peacock. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere right now.
Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never heard of this until you brought it up. But it sounds interesting. I'll definitely add it to my watch list.
Yeah, it's cool.
I also haven't seen this movie. It has been in my periphery for a little bit. The only footage that I've ever seen of it is from a Mubi ad, the streaming service Mubi.
Yeah.
I don't know where they loop like a scene from like a short scene for the movie 3 times in a row, and it's him like shooting the pool ball. But this is definitely on my watch list. I don't know how soon. I just watched the conversation recently. I think that was your movie pick, right? Or somebody's movie pick.
It was mine.
Yeah, and I really, really enjoyed that. And I haven't quite dedicated the amount of time that I should have to Francis Ford Coppola. So hopefully sometime in the near future, maybe after Halloween, after I do like my little horror marathon that I'm trying to plan, I'll start cranking some of those out. And that one will be high on the list of something to watch.
I remembered, I was just going to mention, I was like, it is funny, Francis Ford Coppola being his uncle, and then he's in it. And Francis Ford Coppola periodically uses family members in his films. So it's no surprise there. But Yeah.
Okay, I guess going to number 5 pick, it is Valley Girl. So this is Nicolas Cage's leading debut. At movie club yesterday, they were talking about Romeo and Juliet movies, and I couldn't bring this one up because I wanted to talk about it today.
Uh,
But yeah, no, I really like the movie. Like it's very aimless and like coming of age, so it's just like kind of my taste, you know. And it's basically Romeo and Juliet placed in the 80s, but instead of like the parents, it's like her friends from her school, and like so, which is like a different take.
interesting.
And I just yeah, I really like the vibes of the movie. Like it was just super charming the entire time. Nicolas Cage is just like supernatural as the out of town person.
Mhm.
Like the smallest, like really small details, just like some of the subplots felt unfinished, but
Mhm.
it's not like a big deal. I still really enjoyed the movie. So
You said this was his
Oh.
first leading role?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
because he was in Fast Times at Richmond High before,
Yeah.
but
He
he was
was,
in the
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
the
Yeah,
soundtrack
well,
is really good. You know, it's like a time capsule of the 80s. You know, it came out in the 80s, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
it does transport you there.
Well, if you liked it, I probably will too. And I can get behind those looser narrative movies sometimes,
Mhm.
as long as just the themes are really interesting, or just the character interactions are really interesting. And especially if it's Nick Cage's first lead role, I'm definitely on board.
Yeah, he's super young, so you know, hot Nick Cage.
Yeah, it came out. This came out the same year as Rumblefish, apparently. So
Oh,
we could talk about this now.
Cool.
But yeah, I've never heard of this one too. Another reason why I said I'm not qualified for this panel. But I mean, I'll definitely add it to my one. Romeo and Juliet tropes is not really my favorite. But if they have a twist on it, if they have a different take on it, I'll give it a try.
I can, or Stephen D. Okay, what is the order of this? Like, who goes after? I don't know. It's
I've
have it
got
going
nothing to
like
say.
a snake, like a snake. Just
I've
like-
got nothing to
Okay.
say about Valley Girl, so don't worry about
Okay.
me.
okay. Yeah, I really don't have anything to say either. I've never heard. I mean, I am aware of this movie's existence. I just have never seen it. I haven't seen it. I haven't really made plans to see it, but since Matthew gave it a good review, I'll definitely put it on my watch list. One thing, looking it up sort of while other people were talking, so I could get a clear idea of what was going on. I learned that this movie was directed by Martha Coolidge, who directed the movie Real Genius, which is hilarious.
Oh wow! Yeah.
they spelled real wrong.
And
but
yeah, I will. Did I cut out there? I don't know. I tweaked out.
A little
You're
bit at the
good.
end.
You just, yeah, you're
We
fine.
understand what you were gonna say. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
what he's
Yeah.
gonna turn on.
I wanted to bring another
Okay.
thing up before going to Steven. Is that I didn't know about this movie until the remake came out in 2020
Oh.
with Jessica
Remake.
Roth, and it's a musical. And that's how I know about it, like because it's a musical that came out
Oh.
last year, and they based
That's interesting.
It's called the same thing.
Yeah, so it's called Valley Girl, starring Jessica Roth.
Okay. That's the Happy Death Day girl, right?
That's right.
The La La Land.
That too.
What is it? The yellow dress girl from La. All right. Things that you only know because of trivia, right?
Steven, do you have anything you want to say about it?
No, I have nothing. I don't want to take up too much time for a movie I know nothing about.
All right, Albert, what's your number 5 pick?
Okay, my number 5. I already know it's gonna get not the bees here. The Rock.
Yeah, not the bees, baby.
All right.
All right. Well, this might be the time to talk about it. Maybe not. Oh yeah, it will be. My next movie on the list is Kick-Ass. Now, this might
Not the
have been.
Beast.
Oh,
we got
all
not the
right,
bees.
all right. Okay, stay tuned.
Okay. So my number 5 pick. Sorry, Wind Talkers is my number 5 pick. Oh no. Okay. Am I not coming through? I don't know. My
You
internet's
cut
kind of
out
being
there.
spotty today.
You're choppy.
You are
Yeah.
right now.
Oh,
It's
Right now
chocolate.
you're good.
Yeah, now you're fine. We'll see how.
I'm fine now. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, my number 5 pick is Wind Talkers. I don't think anybody else has seen this besides Albert, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
No,
so.
unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm
Great.
ashamed. It has Nick Cage and it's a John Woo movie,
John
and I
Woo.
haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. I know.
Okay. I am going to say up front that if you don't like this movie, I get it. It's fine. You've seen how the rest of my list has turned out. Yeah, it's a little bit spicy, but my comments, which are not very extensive, but my comments are going to be about the director's cut instead of the theatrical cut. The director's cut is about half an hour longer. It's at like the 150-minute mark, but yeah. So just to provide a brief synopsis, Windtalker is a World War II movie directed by John Woo about Navajo code talkers during the Battle of Saipan. So right, the U.S. Used members of the Navajo tribe to create special codes during the war, so that when they were intercepted by the Japanese, they wouldn't be able to unscramble them. This movie doesn't really have a lot to say about that actual process, because it's a John Woo movie. It's about the action, and when it comes to John Woo style action, this movie has got it in spades. I don't know how many of you are familiar with John Woo. I know that some of us have already not the beast Face Off, but I think this movie, I like this movie more than Face Off, but I don't know. It's so visceral. I don't really know how to explain it, just because the way that like this action, that this war action is put to screen is really unlike any other kind of World War II action that I've seen. This movie is really quite unlike most other just World War II movies I've seen generally, because I feel like with a lot of war movies from America, you swing kind of one of two ways. You either have like the very patriotic, America kind of movies like that you might get out of Mel Gibson, like The Patriot, or you might argue like Saving Private Ryan, or you get these intensely cynical anti-war movies going the other way. Sort of like maybe Platoon, Born on the 4th of July. I don't really know if I can't think of a place that this movie really fits into that sort of spectrum, because this movie is literally just about the action. It's literally just about things blowing up, Americans going over to Japan and just ripping shit up. This movie, John Woo is like, besides his action, he's known for like inserting lots of melodrama into his film, and I think that's one of the reasons why this didn't really resonate with American audiences at the time. Like, this movie was savaged by critics and at the box office. Like, I think Letterboxd has it at a 2.7 average.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But I don't know. Like, I feel like there's no. It's not cynical at all. Like, it's just pure drama. Like, John Woo just goes for it, and I think it works. There's a so the idea is Nick Cage plays a soldier or a Marine that's tasked with keeping his Navajo cold talker alive, or so that he doesn't fall into the Japanese hands, he has to kill him, before he gets captured. And so there's like a bond that forms between them. That's I don't really know how else to say it. It's just like, it's very, I guess, touching, and also like it's just John Woo going for the melodrama, I guess, and it's just like pure, unadulterated, totally without. There's some hilarious line reads in this movie, by the way, from Mark Ruffalo, who plays kind of like a supporting Marine that just says things like, "Oh God, they're all dead! Oh God, they're all dead!" And it sounds like super cheesy in the moment, but it's like said with such conviction that you can't help but say, "Okay, great. This is fun. Like he's going for it. Cool." And then there's also a subplot here with Nick Cage trying to get over, sort of a failed mission that he led earlier during the Pacific War campaign. And I won't spoil that, but watching him wrestle with that, as the movie progresses, is really, it's really like, I don't know. I found it pretty convincing. I'm overstating a little bit how much of this part I liked about the movie, because like 99% of the movie is just action, just like nonstop visceral action, and that's the part that I register with the most. But basically what I'm trying to say is a lot of the reasons why people might not have liked the movie back then is the same reasons why I like it so much. It's definitely one of John Woo's least acclaimed, like one of his most underrated movies. And I don't like using really the word underrated, but it really is. Like everybody talks about Face Off, everybody talks about his Hong Kong output was immaculate, incredible. Steven can attest to that, but nobody ever talks about Windtalkers, and I think that's really a shame, because this movie, I think, deserves to be placed amongst those. Maybe not quite at the same level, but definitely within the same general area. God, that's just me rambling about this movie. I'll pass it off to Albert because he's seen it, and I know he doesn't.
I can interrupt here. So there is a reason why this movie isn't talked about that much. This movie is very mediocre, John. I found out about this movie because I was writing a presentation for my cryptography class, and this is one of the films that have cryptography in it, because, like you said, the Navajo language is used as codes. And I thought that was really interesting that they actually did that, and they didn't really explore it that much. They did very minorly. There's like one scene that's like pretty cool, and I thought it was pretty funny because the Japans were like, "Are they talking underwater? What is going on?" I'm like, "Oh, that's funny." But the rest of the movie is just it's quite long. It feels long. I don't think it was that long, but it feels long. And there are small moments which I enjoy. The just relationship between the main Native American and with Nicolas Cage's character, but like everything else is like pretty standard. There's like the generic bully who's like racist about them having to team up with the Native Americans, and it's like it's okay, but there's some parts which feels kind of out of line a little bit. It's uncalled for. But yeah, the overall film is just, I don't know. I mean, maybe you watch a director's cut, maybe it's different. But the one that I watch is like it's very average, and I understand why people don't really talk about it that much. That's how I saw it, at least.
No, I don't. I don't. The theatrical release is like not as good as the director's cut. The director's cut flows a little bit better. Does anybody else have any other comments? Because I'll just interject really quickly before.
No. I'll just say I do love John Woo melodrama, particularly in his Hong Kong films. That's why they work so well. So I feel like I could appreciate Windtalkers, and also the Red Cliff films. Very much, I feel like the same kind of thing, where it's just a bunch of visceral action for 99% of the movie. So that's kind of cool too. So I feel like I would like this one.
I haven't seen a single John Woo movie, and
that's a crime against humanity.
I know. I wanted to watch this, but I ended up watching another movie that knocked off The Croods from my list. So it was The Croods was a honorable mention, but we already talked about it, so I'm bringing it up. And you'll hear about it later, I guess. John, you can say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I just want to reply to Albert, because I totally get if you think that this movie is just mediocre. Like I am fine with that. I am empathetic. This is a very me. Like this is a pick for me. I'm not going to try to convince people that like this is any like has any semblance of a good movie. Because if you don't like John Woo, if you're not familiar with John Woo, and you're just approaching it as like an action movie, it's a very standard warfare, or maybe just bad. But to comment about the cryptography thing, that is one thing that I don't really like about Windtalkers, is that like that's such an interesting part of American war history, or just like history in general, that I wish they would explore, and they don't really touch on it. But again, the movie, that's not really what the movie is about. The movie is about the relationship shared between the men, specifically like Nick Cage and his handler, and then also Christian Slate's, Nick Cage and Adam Beach's character. Adam Beach is a fantastic actor, by the way. Maybe not, he's good in this, but he's great in other stuff too, and like Smoke Signals, for instance. And the other sort of, the Nick Cage's friend Christian Slater, and then the other Navajo character whose name I forget. But yeah, I feel like the movie's more about like the bonds that they share, and I guess trying to overcome racism. Like it does, the movie does have a little bit of a like we solved racism vibe to it, which I get can also be quite a turnoff. Albert, you sort of alluded to that earlier, but yeah, whatever this movie like doesn't achieve in sort of like the melodrama. Which, by the way, the theatrical version really undercuts that part of it. I think it definitely makes up for it in the actual like staging, the actual action choreography. So, sorry, I will pass it back off to Matthew for that.
Colin
or Albert.
No, one last thing. Like, I get that. I mean, it's John Woo film, so I wouldn't expect a very like deep analysis of the cryptography of everything, even though it's very fascinating. But I would love to see like a story of this, like in the same vein as Imitation Game, where they're more drama focused instead of like the action base. That would be interesting. But yeah,
that would be cool.
I agree with you. If we had an Imitation Game style movie, I'm not huge on Imitation Game, but if we had that sort of treatment for this story, I would be very down for it. Just as like sort of somebody that's interested in the history of it. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay.
All right. Colin, you did not miss.
We have not spoken about that. Yeah.
It hasn't even gotten not the bead.
Let's go to Steven. What is your number 5?
Yeah. My number 5 pick. Hold up. It is. Oh, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. It's my number 5.
Let's go.
Is a tour de force by Nick Cage. This movie fucking rules. His performance is so just. This might be his best performance I've seen. It's quite fantastic. There are a few others. But it's definitely up there, top 3 for sure. As well, top 5 even. Honestly, I don't know. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Yeah, but Werner Herzog. Only seen this in Aguirre, The Wrath of God, but I loved both of them, and they both are very much their own thing. It's interesting. I'm also a huge fan of Bad Lieutenant, the Abel Ferrara film with Harvey Keitel, and then this is an updated. It's not very similar though. They seem pretty different for the most part. This film, the Werner Herzog version, is very much more of a comedy almost, whereas the Abel Ferrara one seems to be very, serious, a bit more like powerful per se, I guess is a good way to put it. It's got a lot of powerful story thematic elements to it that really adds. And also Harvey Keitel is fantastic, but his performance, I could see how someone finds it silly, whatever. But I'm not here to talk about that. I would be here way too long. I need to keep remembering to hold back. I don't want to keep people up until midnight. But yes, fantastic. There are some really amazing scenes, and the film looks amazing too. I think it was shot on digital, but it definitely takes advantage of that. I'm not an anti-digital person, especially if you're not trying to make it look like film. You're actually just like embracing the practicalities of digital and how you can make it work. And I
Mhm.
think this does it pretty well. There's just you see Nick Cage just constantly doing debauchery, and it's just insane. They're John was talking about it yesterday with me. There's a scene in particular with reptiles, and there's some really surrealist moments in this film, and the ending is so like over the top with just like how it all comes together. Like I thought it had to be a dream, and it wasn't, and like it actually was happening, and I was like, wow, okay, they're really doing this, and it's really funny to see it all go down the way it does, and just it's like it's almost like watching like Ocean's 11 or just like this really elaborate crazy heist movie, and you're just like, how the heck are they going to pull this off? And then it like happens, you're like, holy shit, like that was insane. It does. This movie does kind of drag, though. Admittedly, like it is much more just kind of like people interacting, and but I feel like it would get better on a rewatch, especially the performances and whatnot. A lot of great supporting roles as well. I can't think who's in it, but I know there are some good actors in this movie, and they do a great job as well. So I think it's the girl from Training Day is Denzel's wife.
Eva Mendes is here.
Eva Mendes,
Yeah, she's in it, and she's I think his girlfriend, and it's a pretty interesting dynamic there as well. So yeah, and then his parents are involved too at one point, and it's such a weird dynamic of things, and it's funny, tense. It's great movie. Strong recommendation.
Yeah. I didn't know about this movie. I knew about the Bad Lieutenant, but I didn't know about
Same.
So
And funny enough, Werner Herzog, when he was making it, like he was about to make it, and like Abel Ferrara found out, he was like, "Oh, like they didn't ask for my permission or anything." And then Werner Herzog's like, "Oh, I've never heard of that movie before." It's like, oh my gosh. And then they like talked about it, and like I guess they're friends now because there's a picture of them having like dinner or lunch together, and they're vibing. I was like, wow, that's so cute. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
I had the wrong name. It's actually The Bad Lieutenant.
Oh yeah,
Not bad. It's The Bad Lieutenant. So I guess it's kind of
that's true.
right.
The Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah.
I just said without the because
I mean, there is no "the" in the actual title.
Oh yeah, there is no the. I didn't think so, but then you put okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Another box.
Yeah, it wasn't on my radar before, but it definitely is now. At least for the Nick Cage performance.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
John.
Yeah, I haven't I haven't seen this movie. I watched a lot of clips from it just so I could get a better sense of like Nick Cage performance style. And this is rocketed to the top of my watch list. I was talking to Steven about this yesterday. I have a DVD of it sitting like literally within eyesight. I can literally see from here, and I just haven't cracked it open. Just if you look at the title, you look at the like the DVD arch on the front, like the poster art. It looks very like Walmart bargain bin core.
Yep. That's why I didn't check it out as soon as I should have.
Yeah, because it's like a really wordy title, but just from what I've seen, like this, it is not that in the least. Nick Cage is just he's like crazy in this, but like actually sort of kind of modulating the Nick Caginess of it. He's going for like the typical whatever the styles of acting that he always talks about in his interviews, like German expressionism, nouveau shamanism, whatever. I just want to talk real quick about the reptile scene because that is so funny. It's so funny. It's just Steven, can you elaborate on what exactly that scene is? I want to hear it from you because it's.
So he's got an interaction with, I mean, I don't want to spoil, but the plot isn't super important, I guess. And honestly, I kind of forget what even happened. It's not really a spoiler. It's just he's in the basically he's infiltrated like some drug empire sort of, or not empire, but just what's the word? Just
Lab.
Sure.
I was gonna say mob boss. He's not a mob boss. Yeah, just whatever. Anyway, people that sell drugs is like the head honcho. He's like infiltrated them, and I was like, he's got these pets, and they're like, Nick Cage looks at them weird, and there's this whole surreal moment where there's a bunch of gunfire going on, and like, yeah, it's just a wild ride. And there are. It's really weird how Werner Herzog chooses to shoot in this room, because he'll like have these super close-up shots on these like lizards or whatever they are, and it's like, what the heck of a. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a very Werner Herzog thing, where he just like fixates on kind of like the weird other details. To quote him from Burden of Dreams, to sort of capture this overwhelming and collective murder. Stephen, he did a great job of describing it, but again, like this is another thing that you just kind of have to see for yourself because it's so funny.
And I will admit, like, I oftentimes forget like even the plot of a film I watched a month ago, because I usually just remember the feeling of it more than anything, and I definitely remember the feeling of this film, so that is a strong recommendation there.
It's poetic cinema.
All right. Shall we move on to the number 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My number pick is Leaving Las Vegas.
No bees.
No be probably else has said Steven.
Matthew, you're very choppy right now. We can barely hear
Yeah.
you.
Let me come back.
Uh-oh.
He said
right.
he's gonna leave and come back, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, he's gone.
Hurry.
He succumbed to alcoholism.
Everyone, do your best Nicolas Cage impression while we wait for Matthew.
Not once, not one time.
That's pretty good.
I'm gonna quote from Mom and Dad. My kill ratio was 9 out of 10. I was 100% sex.
Not the base! Not the base!
I had the world by the balls. I remember that when I was like it was 4 minutes ago, and I don't know. That's sorry for anybody that had to see that. Also, I want to apologize in advance for anybody that has to listen to me rambling. I literally prepared 0 notes for this, so.
Me neither.
Okay.
No,
I didn't have notes at all.
Okay. Good
You're not
prepared
alone.
podcast guest. All right. I like it.
Listen, we're just talking. We're spitballing here. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, all the notes I have is just the list. That's all my notes. I don't have anything.
just a
We're
couple
just
of dudes
busy.
thrown out.
Yeah. Well, while we're waiting for him, Albert, how was the Hawkeye trailer?
Good.
All right.
Watch my trailer.
Is
Yeah.
this
Plugging it right there.
All right.
Is it a show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
Disney Plus. It's Disney Plus. So yeah.
Gotcha.
When does that come out?
November.
Okay. Oh, that's soon.
There's so much content, bro. It's insane.
Yeah.
No.
It's real death march. Besides movies that we're probably going to talk about later, has Nick Cage ever been in another superhero stuff? Has he been in any other superhero stuff?
Yeah. He's in
Teen
a couple-
Titans Go to the Movies.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He voiced
Superman.
Yeah. He plays Superman because he was supposed to be Superman.
That's
say
fine.
this: if it
And he
wasn't,
named his kid Kyle, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. He literally named him Kyle. Okay.
yeah, Matthew's back.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Matthew.
Is it any better?
You're
A little better.
Slightly.
No.
Okay. What was the last thing I said? You just hear me say that I watched Leaving Las Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
basically.
Yeah. This is a very different like Nicolas Cage movie because it's definitely like it's not like a movie that you just like put on anytime. It's very harrowing. Like it's Nick Cage basically. He plays an alcoholic, and he's an alcoholic throughout. Like and then he goes to Las Vegas after he loses his just like he loses his job and everything, and then he meets Elizabeth Shue, who is a prostitute. Oh, I just got over the message. So
I texted him that he's very robotic. I think he saw
Okay.
that message and he's trying again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could hear it, but it was
It was.
the best.
Yeah.
Have any of you seen this movie? Just
I have, yeah.
Oh, the
It
internet's
was
better.
my that I mentioned it as my honorable mention. I didn't
think-
know if
okay,
Matthew
okay.
had seen
I
it.
think it's
so.
better.
okay,
Try talking.
yeah, hello, can you hear me?
hey, Matt. You're still choppy, but we can hear
Yeah.
you.
It's better.
We can give
Just,
it another
we'll
shot.
try.
Yes.
You stopped at Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, so yeah, that's where he meets Elizabeth Shue, and I think I really enjoyed that, like their connection. Like I think they have good chemistry together. You definitely like connect with Cage's character, and you just like you want him to get better. I feel like he does a really good job at portraying him. Definitely in like an Oscar-worthy performance. I don't remember the other nominations to tell you who I think I should have won, but I think he did really well.
Yeah. I have never. Oh, I guess I don't know if you're finished or not. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say go. Yeah, Albert, go.
I've never seen this film. I've been meaning to watch it. Not for Cage, but more for Elizabeth Shue. But yeah, I've been meaning to watch this, and the premise is interesting. So I'll get to it one day.
Yeah, pretty similar sentiments from me. I've heard things here and there about it, and it does sound interesting. And I'm always finding a reason to watch more Nick Cage anyway. So I definitely want to get to it. And I do like Elizabeth Shue a lot as well. So
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't really back you up on this one. I know that the performance is good. I've seen clips, but I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really speak to it. Since you did mention it, though, I will throw this out here. Nicolas Cage in 1995 beat out Richard Dreyfuss, who played the titular Mr. Holland in Mr. Holland's Office. Anthony Hopkins playing Richard Nixon in Nixon. He beat Sean Penn in Dead Man Walking, and he beat Massimo Troisi in Il Postino, or The Postman. So I don't.
That's the film where he died making the film.
Yeah. The little note there says posthumous. So yeah, I don't know if you can.
I know. So the story is like he was diagnosed with cancer. So like he knew he was dying, but he like really thought it was important that the film be made. So he basically like instead of going through with treatment, he said, "No, I'm going to make this movie because that's how important it is." And then he ended up dying like just after it was finished. So,
wow,
interesting tidbit there. But yeah.
But yeah, Nick Cage is great in this. There's the famous scene of him. Another scene of him tipping over a table. That's probably like the image that I most associate with Leaving Las Vegas. And Albert, I also agree. I really like Elizabeth Shue. And I haven't seen this movie, and I don't know much about her role in this movie, so I'm gonna look forward to seeking that out.
All I know, she plays a prostitute. If I'm wrong, if I'm
Yeah.
correct.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I like this movie. Admittedly, barely remember it. Not because it's bad, more because it's been like at least 5 years, maybe 4, something like that. I remember watching and liking it. It had a sort of hypnotic feel, almost, where you're just like looking into this world, like you're very curious about these characters and you just want to like know what's happening to them. I guess, yeah, but I don't really remember what happens very much. So if I were to watch it, again, it would be like a first time watch basically.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's all I got there.
Okay. Well, let's go to Albert's number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is Kick-Ass. I think someone said it earlier. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was my number 5.
Okay. So slight, not the beast, but yeah, Kick-Ass is my number 4. I think this he has a supporting role in this one as Big Daddy. So he's not the leading role, but I think his role is big enough in this film. And this film is just a lot of fun. It's basically, if you've never seen it, it's just a super grounded superhero style of like, what if a regular kid in high school decided to be a vigilante? Well, that kid will get the shit beat out of him, which is what happened to Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. But yeah, it's a very grounded film. Matthew Vaughn directed this, and the whole film is just a lot of fun. Great soundtrack. Chloe Grace Moretz. I don't know how old she is in this, but she's really good for her performance here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, obviously Nick Cage played a father to Chloe Grace Moretz. There's a good father-daughter dynamic there. And am I allowed to? Should I spoil this film? Most people have seen this, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
When his character, Nicolas Cage character, got killed in this film, and like I thought the ending, like the farewell between his character Big Daddy and Hit Girl, was kind of touching. It was bittersweet. It was a sad moment, but it's you can tell he's having fun. He's trying. It's like it's a very zany father kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it aside from that, but yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you a lot there. I think the whole movie just comes together really well. There's so many pretty solid parts that fit together really well. I like the cast a lot. I think it's hilarious and it fits so well that Nick Cage is playing Big Daddy, and he's good in it too, and it works. And like you said, the dynamic with the Hit Girl is actually really good. And just, I liked all the different characters, and the story. Maybe it was not the most original thing, but I thought they did it really well, and liked the score a lot too. It was just really enjoyable. It maybe wouldn't be on here if I saw another leading Nick Cage movie, but I think it's a great movie to put on there since I didn't have another one, because I really enjoyed it.
John?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, so yeah, I like Nick Cage in this. He's one of the parts of this movie. I saw this movie about 2 years ago, so my memory's a little bit murky. But he's definitely a part that sticks out to me. I like the little rapport that he has with Chloe Grace Moretz in it. I like, sort of the inspirations that he draws on. I heard somebody say that it's kind of, he like draws on like Adam West Batman a little bit in that. And I definitely see that. And it's a little bit edgier. Yeah. I mean, it's kick-ass. I have mixed feelings about the movie in general. I have mixed feelings about the guy that directed it. I won't get into any of that. But yeah, it's pretty enjoyable. Like, I don't think it's a bad movie at all. And there are things that I liked about it. There are things that I don't really like about it. But I'm not a big Aaron Taylor Johnson guy. That's just I'll just put that out there. I don't really like that character, but I like sort of everybody else that exists in the periphery of him, especially Chloe Grace Moretz. I think it's a great idea to have a girl that young do the things that she does action wise and vigilante wise. I'm not gonna come off as a hypocrite and say that I like hate this movie but also love Mom and Dad, which is even more juvenile and stupid. So, but yeah, it's a film. It's a movie that just kind of exists for me. I don't really have too many splendid things to say about it, except that I like Nick Cage in it. Yeah. So Steven, all you.
Yeah. I watched this movie also like 2 years ago, and I remember really enjoying it, but like over time I've kind of become more, like John was saying, just kind of mixed on it. it's not something I really feel like revisiting again. I'm not the biggest Matthew Vaughn fan, but I do I do enjoy moments of it. I like the I think Nick Cage, honestly, he seemed kind of weird, and like, I mean, he is supposed to be weird, but like his role felt weird maybe. But Chloe Grace Moretz, of course, we've all talked about her.
Yeah,
so,
Nick Cage's is like, his character is almost like he's trying to go full Nick Cage, but they're holding him back in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I sort of sense that. So it feels kind of like halfway to what he usually is. So yeah, maybe that's, I don't know if that's how you felt about it, but that's how I felt of his character at least.
yeah, and then the also with the ending, the third act being like so over the top after the being so over the top after like what came before being more grounded, kind of, I guess, and so it doesn't meld super well, but yeah, it's still fun enough.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I just don't have a ton to say about it.
I haven't seen it since, I want to say 2011 or 2012. That was like when I saw it, and I remember Chloe Grace Moretz is great. I've seen like clips online more recently, but just haven't seen the movie since when I last watched it. So yeah, don't have a lot to say.
Yeah, no, this is Chloe Grace Moretz is the star of the film easily. So
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it when it leans into the juvenile kind of, version of it.
Yeah.
But then there is a point in that movie, and I feel like with some of the other Matthew Vaughn that I've seen, where they push the juvenile sort of like humor or just the juvenile energy so far, where it's like, okay, now it's starting to become a little grating. I don't know if other people feel that way, but
No, I agree.
I would
It's
probably
it's
agree with
there
that.
in every Vaughn film.
yeah, generally speaking, yeah, that's I don't think that's like a particularly novel take on Matthew Vaughn, but yeah, I think the movie is fun. Sorry, I interjected there. My bad. I'll pass it back to you guys.
I'm done.
Okay. Cameron, what is your number 4?
My number 4 is Raising Arizona.
That is
Not
also my number 4. So
Not these.
no, not the bees, but
Oh, okay.
Cameron, you start off though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yours
Well,
are number 4 as well.
Didn't
Well,
Matthew?
Well, Matthew said not the bees as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh.
we'll
Sorry,
we-
my bad.
I don't know if I cut out or something, but
You know, we heard you.
okay. Well, then let's go to Steven, your number 4.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. My number 4. So I think I know what it's. Wait. Okay, yeah. Number 4 is Face Off.
not the bees.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's see where my number 4. No, my number 3 is adaptation.
Not the bees.
Okay. Albert.
My number 3 has been mentioned by everyone else. I believe it's National Treasure.
Oh.
I
right.
have it pretty high up. This film is nuts and ridiculous, but it's just so cool, man. I don't know. It's literally a treasure hunt movie following American history, and I thought it's just really cool. And the fact that he went to Washington, he went to Philadelphia, and back to New York and everything. Just the whole thing that it takes place all in the East Coast is pretty neat. And this is literally Washington. He went to Philadelphia, and back. I'm frozen. Someone's watching a playback.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah. So I'm not a history geek. I'm not a history nerd. But like, I feel like someone who loves history would really enjoy this. Maybe, I don't know. But it feels so much like it's Indiana Jones, but for history geeks. It's literally what it is. It's a treasure hunt story. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. But it's just really fun. And I also have this film in my cryptography presentation because there is cryptography involved in this film. So yeah, it just have a lot going for it. Diane Kruger is good in this one, and yeah, I definitely think this is better than the original as well, and than the sequel as well. So yeah, I'll stop at that for now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll have too much to add on to it because it's been forever since I've seen it, but it is just pure fun, and it may be stupid, but it's fun. Just all they really go all into the concept, and it's kind of a silly concept, but to me that just makes it better. Um, and yeah, Nick Cage is good in it, and I think it's just fun that they go to all these different places, like Albert said. Um, and it was a huge cultural phenomenon too. It had a huge impact on our culture in kind of a funny way, which is also kind of a novelty for me to look back on that.
Yeah, I mean, I will echo everything that Albert and Cameron said. This was my number 10 on my list, just to throw back. And I'm maybe not quite as hot on this film as you guys are, but I do really, really enjoy this movie, and really for the reason that Cameron said, because to be honest, like it doesn't have a lot of like flair in terms of direction, and even Nick Cage is like kind of reserved here. He's just sort of
reserved.
Yeah, it's not really like there's really anything really notable you can say about his performance. He doesn't go wacko in it, but it's just so absorbed into its whole cryptography, scavenger hunt across the United States, American history inspired Mason thing. And I find that totally awesome and cool. And, it's so absorbed in that whole mythology of the film, which is really stupid. It's like, it's kind of dumb, but like, come on, it's super fun. And I think that's great. I think it's great. I really like John Voight in this too. I like him as the dad in this movie. I think he's great. And also, what's his name? Justin Bartha? Is that his name? Bartha? Yeah. It's almost like he was like born for the role of like the sidekick.
Is it Riley? It's Riley character?
Yeah, Riley. Okay. He is like perfect, absolutely perfectly casted as like the sidekick to sort of like a Nick Cage mid-2000s family action adventure movie. Like he fits the bill perfectly. It's great. I like it a lot. So
I mean, I don't have much to say that hasn't already been said. And, just to comment on the Riley character, when I was growing, like, our family, we liked the Riley character. Like, because it was a family favorite, it's a good family film. And, that was always we liked talking about Riley. We would talk about Riley. I don't know. It's funny to me, though, looking back on it, because I rewatched it, like 2 years ago. And I was like, this movie doesn't hold up like I thought it would, but it's fun anyway. Regardless, I still enjoy it. It's very much an Indiana Jones light.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. I love Indiana Jones. It maybe this is much more a children's movie though, so it does kind of suffer a bit just for that. And you got Sean Bean. We haven't talked about Sean Bean. He's great as well. It's very much a Sean Bean role. That's a typecast. It's weird because like Nick Cage doesn't feel typecast at all. Like, I mean, I think the only reason he did it is because he went to high school with John Turteltaub. So, it's weird, and I wouldn't have called Nick Cage a good actor. And like 5 years ago, I would have said he was terrible. And I don't think he's particularly good in this. He's kind of just like awkward, which his character is a little awkward naturally, but there's not much human connection I feel with his character. So it's one of my least favorite performances of his, honestly. But I still enjoy the movie enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, just to interject real quick before we get to Matthew, his character is super awkward and super nerdy and geeky. Yet somehow the way he delivers the lines makes it sound super cool. And I'm like,
Yeah,
only Nick Cage.
Nick
I'm
Cage.
going to steal the Declaration of Independence. But like he doesn't say it like a badass. Like I had way too much badassery in my voice. He's like, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. But it doesn't sound like, yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I don't remember last time I watched National Treasure, but I definitely watched it in like elementary school for in class. So
For a class?
yeah.
What class is it? Oh, he's muted.
History.
Oh, you're muted.
There's
Oh,
I think there's someone in the room.
yeah.
Probably
Oh,
U.S. history. I watched this in US.
Matthew.
Gym class.
Yeah, I just rewatched this today. I already submitted the list yesterday, obviously, but I rewatched it just to be sure. But yeah, I mean, the music is great. Also, when I went to Philadelphia this past summer, when I passed the Independence Hall, I'm like, I don't associate, maybe because I'm just ignorant and not American. When I see that, I associate that with National Treasure instead of the actual place where they signed the Declaration.
No,
Honestly.
that's the right way to do it.
That's understandable.
Also,
I mean,
a lot of good set pieces here too. Just
It
want
is.
to get that out of the way as well.
Mhm.
just like from what I remember the Declaration of Independence scene. Like I remember like him at the store, with all the other fake Declaration of Independence. It's like there's like so much I still remember from like watching it in elementary school. Like I remember going to like the Liberty Bell and all that. But I have it at number 8 just because I just haven't seen it in so long.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a ton I still remember. So
Yeah, this is probably my favorite John Turteltaub film. So
I don't know if
Yeah,
I can name another John Turteltaub film.
the
well,
sequel,
National
Cool
and
Runnings.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Okay.
another Nick Cage film.
Yeah, another one.
Nick Cage was helping him out, I guess.
we go
Yeah.
to
Cameron.
right.
All right, my number 3, that would be Face Off. Okay, I'm not getting out the beast, so. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll be able to have as much to say as the other people, but I just really enjoyed it. It had a lot of fun ideas, and it's John Woo. It's got a lot of fun action set pieces and 2 great, maybe not charismatic, but just 2 really fun, crazy performances that take turns for our 2 leads that face off here. I think if you're gonna choose anybody that's gonna act like Nick Cage, John Travolta is probably the best bet or the best person you could pick, because I don't know, when he's acting crazier in the later parts of the movie, he sells it for me. He changes his voice and everything. And it's just fun to watch him on screen. But yeah, nothing beats the very beginning when Nick Cage is just going off. There's some classic moments that
Grabbing
he has.
some ass.
Yeah. And I know that is just classic. And I watched it recently, and it was just so funny to experience that for the first time. But yeah, there's that, and there's some crazy fun action, as you might expect, and some melodrama too. I don't think it melded that well all the time, the melodrama going back and forth from the John Woo cheesy action plot that they had, but just the really fun ideas they had just with the magnetic field prison and just all that kind of stuff, the way they did the face operation, those are just crazy ideas that are just so creative. And even if it doesn't really make sense anymore, some of those ideas, it's just a fun time capsule, and it adds to the movie for me. I thought it was a great time.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go. A lot of what Cameron said, I agree with. I'll echo it. Yeah. Nick Cage is. I love Nick Cage in this. He's. I don't know. I love John Travolta in this too. I think they're so perfectly cast in those roles.
Uh-huh.
I know that I also like they weren't like whoever wrote this, they weren't the studio's first pick. It was supposed to be like an Arnie and Sly vehicle, right? Which is I
That would
don't
have been
really
insane.
No,
yeah, I don't I mean that would have been all I would
would've
have
been-
watched the hell out of that.
That's true,
I-
by the way. I just found
it
I just
sounds
found the article
fun,
that says
but it doesn't sound like they'd be good picks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Cage is like his performance here is genuinely great. I don't know, just obviously there's the Castor Troy opening scene that Cameron said. I can't say much more about that. He's great. And if there's one thing that I would fault this movie for is that John Woo doesn't let him do more of that. I think Nick Cage has even gone on record saying that, like, I wish I could have done more of
Yeah.
Castor Troy. But yeah, it's such an absurd concept that totally works. I love it. It's great. And then of course, there's the melodrama part of it. That Cameron also alluded to that I also think works in the John Woo way. And then of course there's the action. I like Windtalkers more than I do Face Off. That's like an absurdly nuclear take, I think, for most Woo heads. But the action here, like, it's undisputable. It's his trademark style. I am all for it. Just beam it right into my eyeballs, into my brain. I will let Steven extol the virtues of this movie because I'm not sure I could. But go ahead.
It's so fun. It's when Nick Cage was at the height of his powers, really, coming off hot from other great summer blockbusters, and you get this. I mean, he had three. 96 he had The Rock, and then 97 he had Face Off and Con Air in the summer. It's like
what a whole
just
trilogy.
an unbelievable. Like, he was the A-list action movie star in the mid to late 90s, which is weird to think about now, but it was true. And I think this movie is a great example as to why he's got this unbelievable skill, the way he portrays his characters. And it is cool to see John Travolta and Nick Cage going at it, and they like are playing their other characters, and so it's funny to see them like imitate each other, and they really pull it off. They really sell it. There's some really fantastic set pieces. You got the doves because it's John Woo.
Of
And
course.
it's like, that prison escape in particular is quite exciting. It's so absurd, but it's amazing. And also we've got one of the great character actors. What's his name? Shoot, I keep thinking of his character's name in Zodiac. The guy who plays Arthur Lee. John Carroll Lynch. John Carroll Lynch.
John Carroll Lynch.
Is in this film. And he's he doesn't have much to do, but it's John Carroll Lynch, and he's always great in the small role that he has. It's absolutely fun. Yeah, there's a boat chase in this that's like superb, and the way it ends is even better. The ending, and also that opening is like so melodramatic, but it works so well. It sets the tone for the movie. It's fantastic. Love this one. Love John Woo. It's a testament to John Woo that it's like, I don't know. Would I say it's his number 4, maybe number 5 film of his I've seen? I can't remember. Might even be 6. I'm trying to. No, I'll say at least 5. I don't know if I like Hard Target more than this one. I can't remember which one I like more. I made a John Woo list though, so. But yeah, great film, really fun. That's all.
I have not seen this because it is not streaming. So, but it's been on my watch list.
Okay.
So I
It
guess
was on
I
Amazon
go.
Prime for a really long time.
Oh, really?
I got the Blu-ray. So.
Right, so I'll go. I watched this. I haven't watched this since high school. I saw it in high school, so I don't remember much of it. I do know that this is my first John Woo film I ever saw, and probably the only John Woo film that I sort of like. The other two being Wind Talkers and Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Those are, I think, poor examples, though.
fair. That's why. That's why. But yeah, this film on premise is ridiculous. You're swapping someone's face with another. It shouldn't work, yet it does. And I just love that they're given Travolta and Cage given the opportunity to try to make an impression, to do an impression of each other, and that's like my favorite part, just seeing that. I don't want to get to the conversation of Nicolas Cage's wife's character in this film because of the penis thing. Everyone knows about that, which is ridiculous. If you don't know, Google it. You'll go into the rabbit hole. But the whole concept is just ridiculous, and it's fun. And yeah, this is one of my earliest Nicolas Cage's film as well. So it definitely left an impression.
To update, I it's number 4 on my John Woo list. So
Okay.
it's my favorite American John Woo film. Have not seen Wind Talkers, or I guess that's the only one worth mentioning. He's made some other American ones, like Paycheck or whatever. I doubt that's as good as Face Off. So no.
John's holding out hope that
Target,
Wind
right?
Talkers could get above it.
Hard Target.
No, yeah, no. Hard Target is I love that as well, but Face Off is just a little bit better, I guess, according to my list. And I made that list. I had watched them like pretty close together, so I trust that more than I do myself right now.
If only there was a world where we could see John Travolta and Nicolas Cage both playing Castor Troy, like at the same time, or just going off against each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my dream.
Let's also mention the fact they're going to remake / make a sequel, and it's gonna suck horribly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be god awful.
Adam
So-
Wingard is apparently about
And it's
involved.
he's an awful choice. He's an awful choice. The director of Death Note, or what Death Note is it called?
Death
And,
Note.
Yeah.
and
Godzilla vs. Kong.
and I don't like Godzilla versus Kong, but like I can at least understand the
Yeah.
somewhat
Face Off with
appreciation of it.
Godzilla and Kong. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I don't
Take
think
up-
he's the right director, because you need, like, John Woo can do the action, and melodrama is good for a movie this absurd.
Mhm.
But like, I don't see Adam Wingard pulling off melodrama
No.
at all. Oh, hey, we could be wrong. Probably won't be. We'll see.
So, Cameron, are you
Good, John.
All right, my number 3 Nick Cage film is Adaptation.
Not the bees.
All right, good stuff.
My number 3 Nick Cage would be. I've talked about it already. Con Air.
Not the bees.
Okay. I was gonna say I think
Wow.
I think I was expecting that. I will say this. It's very close between number 2 and number 3.
all right? Well, let's go to my number 2, which is Raising Arizona. This is really, I mean, great Coen Brothers movie. They have a very distinct style, and it's definitely shows, especially in the comedy. This was a lot funnier than I was expecting. Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter are both really good. And I really like their chemistry together, like how they first meet. And then I don't want to say too much about the movie, but I just thought that was really funny. And then John Goodman and what was the other actor?
Good question.
John Goodman and William Forsythe, who play. Yeah, they like they're just a hilarious duo. Like when John Goodman, he just like climbs out of the prison, and that was a funny scene, and I feel like it just gets funnier as you go along because you get used to the Coen Brothers style.
Mm-hmm.
The score is also really unique. I thought the yodeling. I mean, some of us have heard it because of Sophie's score game. But yeah, it's just a really fun movie, and it just doesn't let go.
Okay. I haven't seen this film. I've been meaning to. I didn't get a chance to watch it before the show. But yeah, I've been meaning to watch a lot more Coen Brothers, and I know a lot of people in our community really like this film. So I'm definitely very aware of it. I just still haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really liked this. This was my number 4, but honestly, it was really hard for me to decide whether Face Off or Raising Arizona goes in number 3. They were really close to me, but yeah, like Matthew said, it just never stops. The whole time, it keeps that energy, and it never stops, and it's crazy. It's funny. I Nick Cage is great in it. I like his character a lot. But just all the characters, they got some crazy characters and some crazy fun ideas here. But yeah, there's just some really fun, maybe not action all the time set pieces, but there's just some really fun zany set pieces they have that are just really thrilling and keep me glued to the screen. And are just oozing with creativity. Yeah, so I really liked it. I can't think of anything else more right now, but yeah, Holly Hunter was great too. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, this is my number 4. I think Cameron and I shared the rank, right? Yeah, I saw this movie recently, rewatched it, and yeah, I really like this movie. It's one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies. It's so funny. Like I love its energy. Like it comes off as it's very deliberately like cartoonish, sort of like Chuck Jones, Looney Tunes style. Everything about it. You know, you have your desert, like sort of backdrop with the explosions in the background going on. Nicolas Cage literally has a Woody Woodpecker tattoo on his arm. Like, you know, all of the sight gags. It's just like people busting through doors and, you know, like using weird, long, exaggerated weapons, grenades. I just love the comic energy, like you guys said, and I won't say too much more about it. Just 2 things. One, I like the dream logic of it. Like it's very straightforward until he starts talking about dreams, and then it gets a little bit weird. And I really liked, it's a very like Coen Brothers move where it's not always super clear like what is happening really like dream wise or what's happening sort of reality or like does it really matter? Who knows? I like it. It gives it kind of a verve. And the first 10 minutes of this movie, this is my final comment about it, and then I'll pass it off to Steven. The first 10 minutes of this movie, comedy gold. Holy shit. It is so funny. So funny. It's so good. Just, you know, Nick Cage going through jail again and again, meeting Holly Hunter's character. Holly Hunter, by the way, great. I agree. She's so good in this. So funny. Like the guy's like, I think you are like what we would call a recidivist or something. It's like, yeah, okay. It's so great. John. Oh, okay. I guess I'll add some more comments about just the actors. John Goodman and William Forsythe, that little duo there. I love them too. They're so good. Forgetting the baby on the roof, great gag. The Pampers on the floor, also a great gag.
Yeah.
And that's
Countdown is also just such.
Yeah.
They tell people to like count.
This is also like an absurd concept as well. That just like totally works because it's so zany and fun. I really like this movie a lot. So this is great. Number 2. We're on 2, right? Number 2. Yeah. Yeah, Matthew, great choice. I love it.
I got nothing. I haven't seen this. Hope to one day.
Apparently, it's on Hulu now. I didn't realize that.
Oh, nice.
Is that the regular Hulu or premium Hulu?
Regular Hulu. So.
Okay. Might check it out.
Albert, do you have any?
Albert.
Albert, I guess.
So my number 2.
Number 2, yeah.
Yes, I just recently not the beast at its adaptation. This film is brilliant. It's just how do I even begin describing what this film is? This film is Nicolas Cage playing Charlie Kaufman, who's a writer for films like Being John Malkovich. It's about him it's Nicolas Cage playing Charlie Kaufman, struggling to write a movie that is unwritable. I guess that's a proper description of it, right? It's and he plays there's a fictional twin brother that Charlie Kaufman creates just for this film, Donald Kaufman, and it's that doesn't exist in real life, but in this film universe it does, and it's such a brilliant concept of writing this story, and this is based on a real story too, because Charlie Kaufman's writer's block when he's trying to do the Orchid. I forget the title.
Thief.
Mm-hmm. The Orchid.
Yeah, Orchid Thief. So yeah, it's a real story, and it's Nicolas Cage. It's weird to describe it this way, but he has a really good chemistry with himself, playing him and the brother. And Meryl Streep is also really good in this, as well as Chris Cooper. So, yeah, I'll just start with that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, not much to say here. I haven't seen it, unfortunately, but I really want to. I wish I saw it for this, but I'm definitely going to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, this is my number 3. A lot of what Albert said, I'm saying this a lot. I'll echo. One of my favorite besides just like the structure of the movie, is like pretty ingenious. I think it's really, really creative. Albert's already spoken about what that is, but it's really like, yeah, it's just great. It's such a good idea, and especially the way that the movie ends. I don't know if we want to like spoiler things here, but like, yeah, I'll sort of talk about it. Yeah. So much of the movie is about like. Sort of an undercurrent is like authenticity. I want to write this. I want to take this sort of frankly boring book and make a good adaptation of it, like a strong adaptation. But also, I want to insert like my own personal flair. I want it to be a good piece of art, because the other brother that Nicolas Cage also plays, he's also getting into screenwriting, and like his. He's sort of supposed to play like the doofus brother that like writes dumb horror films. Not that all horror films are dumb, but you get what I mean. And like they're well received, and he rejects that. He wants to create something he wants to create a screenplay that is authentic and it works and something that he can be proud of. And then the movie devolves into just like a typical Hollywood ending, which I think is very purposeful by Charlie Kaufman and Spike Jonze here. Sort of as a comment of just like movie making, I guess. I'm not really sure. I've actually been mulling over the ending of the film a little bit for a while now. So I won't talk about that because I don't want to spoil anything. But one thing that I really love about this film is the cast, particularly Nicolas Cage, because I think this is one of his best performances. One of the reasons is obvious he has to play two roles, and the two roles are very, very, very different. You have like the free, easygoing doofus brother, Donald, fake brother, and then you have like the neurotic Charlie, and he has to go between these two poles, and that's, really difficult. I assume. I'm not an actor, but it's really impressive to me, and he does such a great job. And this is like a pretty atypical Nicolas Cage role too, because usually he plays sort of like the manly, like the expressive manly man, or at least in the movies that I've seen. And here he plays kind of like, I don't know, like pathetic, I guess is a way of putting it, or at least as pathetic as Charlie Kaufman, the writer, thinks that he is pathetic, right? Like he himself is pathetic. And he's just great, wears a fat suit and everything. And then the supporting characters, of course, are great too. Specifically Chris Cooper and Meryl Streep. They're great in this. I love it. It's fun. So creative. mean, I haven't really done it justice, but yeah, this movie's great. I love it. The only reason why it's not ranked quite as high as maybe the next two movies that are going to be on my list is that sometimes I love Charlie Kaufman. I think he's an excellent screenwriter and an excellent director, and conceptually I'm really interested in what he has to offer. But so many of his movies, like the self-loathing in his movies, is so intense that like it almost becomes hard to bear a little bit. This is especially true in like the most recent movie he made, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I also think is great. But on rewatch, like, oh my gosh, like the self-loathing is like so much to handle. Like it's almost unenjoyable. So I know that's largely the point of that and an adaptation, but it gets really annoying sometimes, especially when at other points in the movie Charlie Kaufman comes off as so narcissistic and so proud of his accomplishments in screenwriting. So, yeah. Sorry, I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I haven't seen it. Hope to one day, Matthew.
Yes, yeah, no, this is a great movie. I mean, like it's super meta, but it just like works super well. Like the way that Kaufman writes the story, and then like being directed by Spike Jonze is also just like fantastic. Like they're that duo too, like they make a really amazing movies. And then John already talked about the ending, so I'm not gonna really go into that. But yeah, no, the ending is just so good too, and like a lot of the movie setups that just like really or just that the setups and like the intricacies that like for the climax. And then Tilda Swinton is also great. Like she always is. So I feel like you guys have both like mentioned how great Nicolas Cage is as the dual roles, and I just don't have a lot more to add. I feel like.
One last thing I'll add is that they jump a little bit in time, sort of back and forth to tell the story of the book itself, and then the story of Charlie Kaufman's character, and it feels very seamless, despite the fact that this film is super meta, yet it somehow works. So that's I don't know, it's just well done.
Yeah.
All right.
Now we go, Cameron. What is your number 2?
My number 2, quite different movie. Mandy is my number 2, and yeah, I love this movie. I think the difference between this being number 2 and number 1 is just my number 1 is just a little bit more my type of movie, but I was fully on board for this. It's just a crazy ride, but it takes its time to get there, and I think the build that it takes to get there is really well done too. It's just some really interesting filmmaking going on. Just obviously the intense colors, and Nicolas Cage does go full Nicolas Cage at certain points in this, and that's great. But he doesn't start there, and it builds to that. And I think his relationship with Mandy is actually done pretty well here, and he sells that well too. What else? I think the end, just the whole latter half is just so crazy, but it's just like you're sitting there bewildered. You're like, oh my god, they really are doing this. They're just having so much fun with this, throwing everything they can at the screen. With some really interesting directing too. So yeah, I really love it. I don't know how to describe why I love it, but it's just so much fun, so crazy.
Yeah, I'll take the baton. I haven't finished this movie, so I won't make any extensive comments. But I really liked what I saw, and I think Andrea Riseborough is I think Nicolas Cage kind of his performance, at least what I've seen, sort of speaks for itself here. But Andrea Riseborough is great. I really like her. I saw her in a recent movie, Possessor by Brandon Cronenberg. Is that his name? Yeah, and she's really good in that. And yeah, she really like latches onto these sort of horror roles in like weird horror movies. I should stop saying weird because they're not weird. They're horror. But yep, I will get around to this soon. All you, Steven.
Yeah, I really enjoy this movie. It's quite entertaining. I think I actually prefer the more slow, relaxing opening. It's just really nice to see these characters interact with each other and these cool colors, and I guess it almost adds to what ensues after the unfortunate events. And the emotion is pretty charged. I really love the first scene where Cage goes full Cage, and the way the camera moves is just unreal, and you're like, oh, shit's about to go down. And it's really entertaining. And then there's a lot of interesting choices. Not all of them maybe pay off. I do think it's a bit repetitive after a while, which is why I don't dig the second half as much. But that first half is it's wonderful. And Bill Duke, amazing. Love Bill Duke. So yeah, Mandy, good movie.
I have not seen Mindy on my watch list, and yeah,
I'd be very curious to see what you think, though.
I'm interested for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've known about the existence of this film for quite some time. One reason is because there is a YouTube critic named Dan Murrell. He make a very awesome 2010 supercut. 2010 film supercut, and one of the shots was that thing, and I was like, what the heck is that? That's creepy as shit. So I know that. I also know this is the last film composed by Johan Johansson before his passing, and it's a really beautiful score. But yeah, this film is just so psychedelic, and it's very much, there's not much story in there. It's so trippy. The visual is great. I cannot say, like, again, I haven't seen Color Out of Space, so I'm assuming the visual is something like that in terms of this, because the visual is so stunning and it's bright red and crazy. But yeah, there is literally, I mean, there are hippies involved in this film and like cults and everything, and then like the one scene where I realized, like, oh shit, things are about to go down, is when he starts inhaling the drugs, and then like his eyes widen and he just grabs the weapon. I'm like, oh fuck, it's okay, so he's gonna go full on. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of my personal favorite scenes is actually the bathroom scene.
Yeah. It's probably the best in the entire film. Like,
yeah.
Maybe not the best. It's one of the best.
It's up there for sure. It's just classic.
Yeah.
I guess we can go to John with your number 2.
My number 2 film is a little film called Con Air.
Yes.
Yeah. I watched this film for the first time over the summer and was frankly blown away. They just don't really make movies like this anymore, which is kind of a shame, because it's so okay. I don't even know where to start. Okay, let's start here. This is one of the greatest like action movie casts ever assembled, in my opinion, at least maybe from the time period. You have Nick Cage. Nick Cage, frankly, is terrible in this. He's really bad. His accent's terrible, but I like him in kind of a dopey sort of way. John Malkovich is really the star of this film, I'd say. Like, he is so good in this. And he's not like, usually when I see like a John Malkovich movie, I don't really associate him with what he does in Con Air, which I think has just been wrong this whole time, because this is really like his performance here just sticks out to me so much. It's so, gosh, I don't even know. It's just so evil. It's so evil, but it's also self-aware, and he's just so good. And then the rest of the supporting cast too. Steve Buscemi as like the weird, kind of off-kilter serial killer guy, like who murders children. It's so like bizarre. Why is that there? But it's like so good.
What do you have against kids, John?
I don't have anything. I don't have anything against kids, but yeah, it's just, you have Danny Trejo in a bit part. You have John Cusack as like the deputy, the CIA guy or the FBI guy. I can't even remember it. The government agency, and
Yeah, government dude.
yeah, he's the government dude. I think he's good in it too. But performances are really sort of the not exactly what I find the most appealing about the movie. Obviously, it's going to be the action. I mean, come on. I got a lizard brain. I'm sorry, I have a lizard brain, and it needs to be fed these dopey weird action movies. Like I don't know if I could really like point my finger at a specific like action set piece that I enjoy, because I liked all of them. I thought they were all great. It's just big, it's dumb, and it's fun. I can't intellectualize it. It's just, just beam it into my eyeballs. The other thing that I like about this movie, like sort of in a wider scope, is just how, I don't know, I guess it's of its time, but it's so like, there's so many things in this movie that I like. This is another one that I understand if people don't like it anymore, because I don't think it's aged particularly well. Like a lot of the way that people, like a lot of the characters, the way they're portrayed today by today's standards is probably not very like politically correct and wildly repellent. But at the same time, it's like the movie's so self-aware, and it's so it understands what it needs to be, and it does it. And I love it when a film does that. Does that make sense? I don't really know if I'm making any sense here, because I'm just kind of rambling. Literally the only character that gets any kind of redemption is like the serial killer murderer, child murderer character, Steve Buscemi.
That drove across the country with a woman's head on him.
Yeah, like oh yeah, this movie has like insane one-liners too. But yeah, like it's a movie where you have like weird scenes, like like a Steve Buscemi's murder character sitting down to have tea with a little kid in the middle of nowhere. You have John Malkovich holding a stuffed bunny at gunpoint, and it somehow makes sense, and it's like actually kind of moving in a way. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's great. I love it. It's amazing, and it's amazing in ways that maybe I don't really fully understand. But one last comment: the music in this is so funny. It's so funny, and it's so perfect. You know what I mean? Like just the music that plays at the very last scene, like it's just so incongruous, but it's Jerry Bruckheimer just doing his thing, and it works. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just gonna pass it off to Steven, because he can do this.
That music, it really makes me emotional, and I'm not lying. Okay, because the Trisha theme, Nick Cage's wife is just, it's great. It's that little leitmotif that plays throughout the movie. And it's just that little guitar riff, and it's so nice and wonderful, and it's the beating heart of the film. And you got Nick Cage, he just wants to put the bunny back in the box and go home to see his little girl. And it's wonderful. It is the film of one of the iconic, important action films that everyone must see. And also Dave Chappelle shows up as well. I don't know if he's there too. And I think Ving Rhames is in this. Did you say his name?
No, I didn't. I didn't bring him up, but he's really important in this. Yeah.
He's in it too. There's another. Yeah,
I love Ving
Rhames. Stacked, and I forgot.
Danny Trejo is there too.
Yeah.
He's Johnny 23 because of the amount of rapes.
We don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to.
It's so absurd, and great one-liners. There's what is? I'm trying to think of another line. Whatever. There are a lot of great lines in this film, and it's great. It's fun. There's some really awesome deaths as well. Like the way people die is amazing. There's that too. It's a great film to watch and have fun watching. It's very close to my number two. It's like the last time I watched it, I moved it down a little bit. I still love it. I think, yeah, the action seemed slightly less impressive the second time. It's still really good though. There's a bit too much cutting for my liking. I don't know. It's also like they're kind of. It almost feels like Simon West is making fun of Michael Bay with this film. So I kind of appreciate that too. As Simon West seems to also just be a kind of nutso action director. I don't know. So yeah, fun movie. Yeah, I've really enjoyed. Yeah.
I'll need to check it out. You've talked about it a couple of times to me, so
Yeah, same here. I've never seen it, but again, I am very aware of the existence of this film. It's one of the most wild action film of its time. So I'll definitely check it out one of these days.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna need to turn it on when I just need that kind of stupid fun movie,
Yeah.
just to escape life for a little bit and
Make sure you have plenty of beers.
we
Yeah.
can get together and drunk watch it.
Yes, dude, I would love to.
Yeah, it's a beer movie.
Before we go on, the total look of scorn that Albert gave me when I said not the bees to when this was brought up the first time. Sorry. You look like a disappoint, like a surprise. It's a mixture of surprise and like a disappointed dad look. That
No, yeah, I don't know.
okay.
I didn't even realize I was doing that face, but yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
I
Steven,
think
go
it's
ahead.
mostly surprise. Oh yeah, that's all I got.
Before we go to Steven.
Oh yeah, I guess I move on. Yeah, that's right.
Before we go to Steven, Andrew's in the live chat.
2.5 hours, Andrew.
Yeah.
This will not.
John got really passionate about Wind Talkers. You should wind back and watch that part. Andrew.
You don't have to. Don't do it. It's bad.
Only watch
Oh,
that
well.
part.
Sorry. Okay, we're almost done. Come on, Steven. Let's go.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Got to
number
speed
2,
run the rest of it.
Bringing Out the Dead. Another fine addition to the Marty collection. This is, it kind of is often, or I think it's fair to say it's Taxi Driver, but Nick Cage drives an ambulance instead. But it seems to have it seems to be a lot more of a dark comedy compared to the way Taxi Driver's played straight. There's a lot of funny stuff going on. It's much more surreal as well. Few notable scenes. There's some drug use. Great cast. Ving Rhames is in this again. He gives this really great speech about God and how there's this dying person. They go to this club or something. It's crazy. He pretends to be a preacher or something, and it's pretty awesome. Martin Scorsese, he's the ambulance. He's on the radio. He's I forget what the word is, but the guy who radios to the ambulance drivers. He's there.
The dispatcher?
Voice.
Oh.
Yeah, dispatch.
Mm.
He's the dispatch, and it works very well. Also, is it Patricia Arquette that's in this? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
Patricia Arquette.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was I think her and Nick Cage were married at the time, if I'm not mistaken. So interesting as well. It's a very stacked cast. Like, I'm forgetting people, but and then there's like a recurring character that shows up from like the streets, and he's kind of just this low life that's like always gets himself in the ambulance because he's always got something, like he's always dehydrated, and then like he just keeps coming back like, I need water, and they're like, no, you're not dehydrated, like it's something wrong with him or whatever. Yeah, so it's just a lot of crazy stuff, funny. Yeah, I enjoy it.
All right. I have not seen this, but I do plan to watch Scorsese's or the entirety of Scorsese's filmography, so I'll have to get through this one sooner.
I have also not seen this. Haven't actually heard of this until you brought it up. So, yeah.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah.
I think it's still on Amazon. I hope it's still on Amazon Prime.
It's on Pluto TV with ads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same here. Definitely want to watch it soon. I'm gonna try to.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief just so we don't go over 3 hours. And sorry if I've dragged this out longer than it had to be. 'Cause,
It's okay.
this this movie really surprised me because I wasn't really sure what to expect. I sort of knew it, like My Reputation was one of Martin Scorsese's maybe lesser loved films critically, but I thought it was great. It's really dark. Like it goes places that even some of Martin Scorsese's darkest movies don't go, and I find that all very compelling. The movie doesn't. One thing that I might fault the movie for, and not really fault because I actually don't mind it, is that it doesn't really have much structure. So if anybody's looking for like a narrative film to see, they're not going to get that out of that. It's sort of the same way that Taxi Driver is. They're both written by the same person, Paul Schrader. So I think like there's a lot of Taxi Driver DNA in Bringing Out the Dead. I think Stephen might have mentioned that earlier, but just. I don't know. Nick Cage plays like an insomniac here, and his performance is really excellent. And the supporting roles too. Stephen already sort of extolled their, what's great about them. The thing that sticks out to me here is really my memory of this film. Honestly, is a little bit murky, but one scene that really sticks out to me was the death of Patricia Arquette's grandfather, where he's just like Nick Cage, and his performance here is like crazed, but it's also a little bit like reserved, almost like it's where like this grandpa's like dead on the floor and people are freaking out, and he's just like, put on a record that'll bring him back, that'll help bring him back. Put on a record that he likes, and so he's like giving right. Am I remembering the scene correctly, Steven?
Yeah,
where he's like
that
where
happens.
Like,
he does say that.
Yeah, he's like giving
Put the
CPR
record
to this this grandpa that is dead. He's just dead.
Well,
and,
I think
you
he's
have like Sinatra
dying.
or
something.
dying. Yeah.
Or he might be dead. I'm not 100% sure.
And it's really like dark, and there are other scenes like that too, with like the gunshot wound guy. I won't spoil what that is, but I don't know, man. Like this movie is a really like wild. It has the same energy of like a One Wild Night movie, except that it's just spread out across the the duration, and the lack of narrative structure here really works, because when you're an ambulance driver, there really isn't any kind of structure to adhere to. Like it's just the days blend into nights, blend into days, blend into nights, blend into days, like it does with Nick Cage's character, who literally doesn't sleep for like 6 days straight. So yeah, it really nails tone and feel, if anything else. So yeah, sorry, I'll pass that back to Stephen.
You talking about it reminded me of like the darker elements, because there is a lot of, they touch upon like guilt and things of that nature quite a bit, and it does get dark, the guilt aspect especially. And there is, you reminded me, there is one a scene, it's like someone ties back into the story, and they've had this terrible fall, and the ambulance comes to get them, and it's like that whole sequence is also pretty insane. Entertaining, funny, and also extremely dark. I think that's the best way to put this movie.
Yep. Okay.
Number one.
Well, then, going into my number one has not been brought up at all. I think we all know where this is going. My number one is Pig. So this movie was really great. I watched this in theaters when it came out, and just like went in completely blind. Like I pretty much knew nothing about it. It was really interesting because I was like, when the movie is basically like he's a truffle hunter, and his foraging pig gets kidnapped, and basically he goes on this journey to look for the pig, and it's kind of a reflection on we learn it in the movie that his wife is dead, and so it's kind of this exploration of grief, and it's just like a very harrowing Nick Cage performance. Like you hear that he's going on a kind of like revenge to like the people who like stole his pig, but you kind of think it's like John Wick, I guess. But like it's more than that. It's like a slow burn, kind of like meditative and like a restrained, performance, and just like a reflection on grief that I was not expecting at all. The movie looks beautiful. The score is beautiful. I'll pass it on to you, Albert.
I haven't seen the film.
All right. Yeah, I also really enjoyed this. I can mirror a lot of what Matthew said. And it may seem like in this that Nick Cage's performance is restrained, but I don't think it's necessarily restrained, but it's just it's kind of meditative, and he's the kind of character that chooses his words very carefully, and he's a man of few words, and somehow he makes it very emotional, and it works really well. And I just loved it. It's also my number one pick. So, and I just like the journey that the movie goes through, and these different people that he's met at different points in his life, and how he handles that, and how he bounces off these different people that maybe he's impacted a lot, or people that have impacted him. I think he just plays that very well. And it, at least so far, it's my favorite Nick Cage performance. I haven't seen some of these other really great films that you have described, so maybe that'll change that. But so far, it's my favorite performance of his. I think it's a really nice movie, nice direction, and score is nice too. But definitely his performance is the standout for the movie for me.
Yep. Full disclosure, this is also number one on my list, and for many of the same reasons. I won't belabor everything that they've said here. I went into this movie like everybody else might have, with the idea that it was going to be John Wick, but with A24-itis. And the way in which the movie was not that was really, it really kind of, honestly, yeah, it blew me away. I'll just say it. I mean, that's kind of a platitude at this point, but the movie never goes exactly the direction that you think it's going to go. And I will give that is to the film's credit. That is where a lot of its strength comes from, because there are things in this movie that are very, very bizarre, like the underground restaurateur fight club. Yeah. That's a pretty odd addition to the film. But the way in which like all the characters are introduced, where you have like this backwoodsman truffle hunter who you think is going to be like sort of the John Wick recluse, and then you also have Alex Wolff, who's like the big shot truffle dealer, I guess. Yeah. You start with two ideas of what these characters are, and you sort of brace yourself for how you're just going to have to see more of it going through the film, which may or may not be a bad thing. But the way that like they kind of play with your expectations there is really, I was really impressed by it, especially Alex Wolff. I know that Steven may feel differently, and I'm sure he's going to talk about it, but I thought Alex Wolff was really, really good in this.
So did I.
Like the way that he's able to, he comes off as cocky, but there's also sort of a self-awareness to that cockiness, as it's on screen, because like Matthew said, a lot of this movie is really about loss, and Nick Cage's character, his backstory is really, really, a powerful part of the film. But I found Alex Wolff and his father's, their little tangle with loss there is. Honestly, in my opinion, maybe the most moving part of the film for me, just because it didn't exactly. I don't know, man. It's late. The way that Alex Wolff's character, how the viewer is able to cut through all of his pretensions, like him driving around in his Maserati, Ferrari, whatever sports car, listening to classical music tutorials, like trying to learn how to become cultured. The way it cuts through that, the way that it deals with the fact that his father cannot let go of whatever happened to his mother, which is never elaborated upon. And then, of course, the ending scene, sort of the emotional climax with, I won't spoil it, but yeah, really, really moving stuff. Really, really moving stuff. And for sure, one of Nicolas Cage's best performances to date. So, yeah.
I think the other thing that casting Nicolas Cage in this movie, already subverts your expectations, because like you expect it to be like this big like action thing from like what Nicolas Cage has been doing, and then you watch the movie, it's not that.
Yeah, it definitely works on a metatextual level there. Yeah. Sorry, Steven, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that Nick Cage gives a fantastic performance here. Probably top 3 at least, if not number 2 or number 1. I don't know. It's hard to say pick my favorite performance of his, but it's certainly up there. But outside of that, I did find it. I had a hard time connecting with this one. And I think part of that may have been the expectations. The subversion maybe just didn't work for me. I had quite a bit of energy and excitement and anticipation for this film because of its reception. And I think that may have played a factor into why I didn't enjoy it as much. I did not realize that it was going to be so slow. And I think sometimes it's too slow. As someone who loves Stalker, and I mean that other slow, that's just the one that comes to my mind, because that is a slow film, very slow. But there's something, I don't know. There's something about this one. I don't think was Michael Garakis, or I don't know what is the director. I haven't really. Sarnowski. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. Whatever. Point is, I was not a fan of his direction here. I wasn't a fan of how he chose to shoot things. There's some weird shaky cam. He's almost like trying to prove that this is a slow, meditative, thought-provoking film, and I'm subverting your expectations with Nick Cage. And maybe that also has to do with the marketing and what people were expecting, and not so much his fault. But I still appreciate on the level Nick Cage gives a great performance. But Alex Wolff he's not Nick Cage, and I think that really hurts that every time he's on screen, Nick Cage is just like destroying him in the acting department. And I felt like, yes, Alex Wolff is supposed to be this yuppie you're not a huge fan of, but it is, at times it was just grating. And I couldn't, there's a scene in particular when he's talking about his past, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I kind of understand, I was trying to open up, but it felt weird. A lot of it just was odd choices that didn't, I was very confused by the whole Fight Club and the rules, and how he needed to get beat up to get information. I was like, it's all almost too much thoughtfulness. At times I thought it could have tried to be a bit more dumb, because that Fight Club thing should have, like, it is dumb, but they don't play it out as dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know if I even make sense anymore. I'm just trying to defend my wrong opinion, I guess. But it's one more. I wanted to say maybe one more thing. I can't remember what it is. Yeah, it is. There's some final shots that are very long and meditative, and it almost feels like there's too much Oh, okay, I got it. The scene with him and the other chef, that was incredible. That is the scene.
One of the best scenes. Yeah. Oh my god. I
will concede that is greatness right there, and a lot of that has to do with the performance by Nick Cage. Maybe the best scene I've ever seen him in. Period.
Yeah.
But I didn't love a lot of things surrounding it.
Yeah, easily the best scene of 2021.
Yeah,
and he doesn't even have to say that much either.
Yeah, it's very great scene. So I'd be curious to watch this one again, because walking out of the theater, I really did not know what to think. Hence why I decided, my brain was like, well, just be kind of lukewarm on it, because you don't really know what to think. And maybe that's not the best choice, but for now, that's what I think. So. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
There's us talking about it make you want to watch it, Albert?
I part zone out because I don't want to get spoiled too much of it.
Yeah.
Also, at
Yeah.
the same time, there's like 4 people who texted me at the same time about something that happened at the Met Gala, and they're like, "Have you seen this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I saw it." So I got distracted by that. But I'm still planning to watch this. So yeah.
Well, then let's go to your number one, Albert.
Yes. So my number one is this is not a Nicolas Cage led movie, but when we discussed the idea, it was like best film that have Nicolas Cage in it. So I go with my favorite out of it. It's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie is perfect. A lot of people have talked about this, about obviously Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I'm gonna focus on the Nick Cage part since we're talking about it. He have a minor role. He plays Spider-Man Noir, and it's just I couldn't picture anyone else playing this role. His performance is so subtle and just so perfect for this. Just the amount of like how do I don't even know how to describe his voice performance in this one, but it's definitely despite it's smaller than the Croods, I like this performance for him more in this one. But yeah, as an overall film, this film is just one of the best animated films of in terms of animation, in terms of story, in terms of just the concept and everything, and it just works so well. And the voice cast, everyone is fantastic. Mahershala Ali, Lee Schreiber, I'm blanking on Miles Morales, Shamik Moore, and of
Catherine
course
Hahn.
Catherine Hahn. Yeah, there's so many, and of course Spider-Gwen, Haley Steinfeld as well. So this film just absolute perfection.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. For all of this, I don't want to beat a dead horse. It is a great movie, and there's not really any aspect about it that I didn't think was well done. But I guess just to zoom in on Nick Cage's performance specifically, it's definitely unexpected, and it's the reason why I want to see more of him do animation and voice work, because he does do a really good job, uh, and it doesn't seem like Nick Cage in a way, but he does a great job with it, and he fits in completely into it. I'm sold on it. Sold on the whole movie. Yeah, every aspect is great.
Yep. I didn't put this on my list because I tried to focus it a little bit more on Nick Cage, specific, where he plays like a major role. But and maybe any other circumstances would have definitely been up there. This is a singular work of animation, for sure. One of the best movies of last decade. There is nothing that I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said. It is great. Mm-hmm. Steven, your turn.
Yeah, that's pretty much me as well. As someone who isn't really super into superhero movies, who isn't really into animated movies in particular, I can admit the greatness that is on display with this film. It's the structure, it's narrative perfection. There's not a single false note. It's tight, economical storytelling. It's structured fantastically. I guess it does have that. The only reason why I'm a little apprehensive to call it all a great or all-time great. It's not my favorite Spider-Man film. That's bias plays a major role into that. But this does have some kiddie elements. Maybe it's a bit still of a kid's film, which makes it just a hair why I don't connect as strongly as most people tend to. But I can recognize greatness in that it's great. So.
Yeah, like I already said, the only reason I put it in my number 6 slot is because Nick Cage has a small, like he's not the lead, but like for animated, was easily like top of the list. So it's perfect. I mean, I really don't have much else to add. I think it's Nicolas Cage's one of his best performances, and easily his best voice performance. And yeah, I just it's. I don't have a lot more to add that Albert hasn't already said.
Yeah.
Great pick.
I think it might be. I think it might be Frozen. I cannot tell.
No,
I don't
Jennifer.
think you are.
No.
You're
Okay.
good.
Okay.
So last but not
Yeah,
least.
and then I think you guys all know what's coming here. My number one would be Welcome to the Rock. This movie is entertainment perfection. It's just like there's not a moment I'm bored. It's I connect to it emotionally. It's fun. It's everything a summer blockbuster should be, to me at least. You know, little silly. Uh, some of the humor is a little crass, but genuine. There's there's a great and ultimately there's a great relationship between the cast characters, particularly that relationship between Stanley Goodspeed and um, Sean Connery's character, John Patrick Mason. The two of them are lightning in a bottle. It's wonderful. I love that aspect, and the score is like top tier Hans Zimmer, one of his best. I don't know what I'd put as his number one, but it's before he kind of he's gone down a bit over the years. Not that he's a bad composer, but I do feel it's part of that's the studios what they want out of a film composer today is a little different. But there's a lot more. I do really love the score, and it does play into that cheese factor a bit. The score helps. It's very booming, patriotic America, fuck the government. Like, it's. I've heard readings of this film of like, oh, it's this great, story about like, anti-government, military, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I can kind of see it, but like that's not really why it's good. And Michael Bay is it's easily his best film. I haven't seen all his movies, but
Not a high bar.
I don't I don't think you can top The Rock. I do love Six Underground, as many of you know as well. But I think his style works perfectly. It really helps keep the pacing going for a film that isn't particularly economical. His scenes within the movie feel economical because there's so much movement and cutting and all this stuff. And I'm not a fan of quick cuts, but there's a lot of movement happening anyway. So the cutting maybe just doesn't bother me as much. There's some really great set pieces. In particular, they're in San Francisco, and there's a lot of just car crash and mayhem, the trolleys and fire, and Nick Cage is just incredible. His line delivery is there. I can quote it. There's so many great banter interactions, and there's a lot of history to the Sean Connery character as well, and that's really invigorating, I guess. And I do genuinely the ending, the last interaction between Nick Cage and Sean Connery is just it's one of those like really I really connect with it. It's and yeah. I don't want to gush too much. I've talked about it for like at least 3 or 4 minutes now. I could say a lot more. It's action blockbuster perfection. That's all.
Yeah. It's a fun time. I think it's a very Michael Bay, which I'm not like a huge fan of, but like it has your standard explosions and stuff, but it's still like a fun movie. Like
I think it helps the script is very good compared to a lot of his other movies. So.
Definitely has a much better script. I was definitely engaged. I enjoyed watching Connery and Cage together, and Ed Harris as well.
I didn't even mention Ed Harris. He's great too.
I agree that it is Michael Bay's best movie. But I just had fun with it. took note for like one of the lines that I really liked. I just thought it was like when Nick Cage says, "I'll do my best," and Connery says, "Your best." Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. And Cage is
Carla was the prom queen.
I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that one. I could name a few others. It's like, listen, man, I don't know exactly what he says before, but it's like you somehow got out of this Alcatraz before, right? It's like, yeah. He's like, well, I think it would really help right now, man, if you could tell us how to get out of here. Shoot, what does he say? I don't even remember, but it's hilarious. It's like, and then he's got the stuff that's the atomic stuff, whatever it is. And if he's like taking it out, he's like, "Why don't you just cut me some slack?" to Sean Connery, and then the one in particular, he's like talking to his girlfriend, and he's like, "Well, a lot has changed since then. If you understand the context of the line, it's funny." So, yeah, he's like, because he doesn't want to have kids, and then she's like, "I'm pregnant."
Yeah.
And he's like, well, before he said he didn't, and then yeah. So it's a funny, like, there's a lot of good comedy. Yeah. I really didn't do those justice, but oh well. And the ending is so silly. I love it. Like the very last scene is particularly absurd and fun. Apparently, Aaron Sorkin and Quentin Tarantino
I heard about that. Yeah.
helped with some script stuff. I don't know how much, but they did. So
No.
All right, I just had it. I wanted to get that. I will stop. I'll stop.
Albert.
Okay, so first of all, the saddest thing about this film is that if you Google The Rock, this film's not gonna pop up because Dwayne Johnson appears, so that's sad.
Yeah.
But this film is genuinely great. Again, I don't think it's a really high bar, but based on the Michael Bay films, this one might be the best. Just in terms of the story is pretty straightforward. There is still insane action moments. My favorite being someone literally just got blasted off by a rocket. I think like it launched right through him, and it's like, what the fuck was that? Spoiler if anyone haven't seen it. But yeah, it's great. Nicolas Cage is good in this. Ed Harris plays a great villain. The second film that I can think of where Ed Harris plays a villain to Nicolas Cage's character. The other one being National Treasure 2. But yeah, Sean Connery is he's just a star, man. He's so cool in this one, and then all of the line delivery that Sean Connery did in this one is so great, and the car chase as well in the beginning was pretty good. So yeah.
Also, Michael Biehn is here too.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Todd is in it too.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
He's the one that Albert's talking about. I think he's the one that dies.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen it, but many reasons to now. So I will.
Yeah, you get to see Candyman get blasted off with a rocket. So.
Not much
Yeah,
more you
I
can
wanna-
ask for.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. I don't really have extensive comments about this, honestly. I wanted to finish this out strong for Steven because the Rock is a genuinely great movie on all accounts. But the last time I saw it, my taste in film was radically different, and I didn't really quite appreciate sort of the idiosyncrasies of Michael Bay's direction and his style the way that I do now. So there are things that I remember from when I watched it that I liked. The Tony Todd death scene is one thing that really sticks out in my mind. We talked about that.
It's
Nicolas
a great
Cage-
character moment.
Yeah, and Sean Connery really kills it, and so does Ed Harris. Like Nicolas Cage, I guess, is good, but I don't really remember much. It's really Sean Connery that carries the film.
Agreed. I think this isn't a top tier Nick Cage or anything. He's good. It's just he gets out acted by great roles. So.
Yeah,
Yep.
for for sure.
Just revisiting some scenes and watching them because I wanted to rewatch this before this podcast and maybe even feature it on my list in some capacity, but I just didn't have time. So, but the scenes that I watched, definitely, you get the sense that Michael Bay is finally like developing his trademark style of action. Like it's the first inklings, and really towards the end, it starts to really evolve into what people know and love, or I guess know and hate. Yep, this is Michael Bay's first great film. I guess I haven't seen it. I'll have to rewatch, but I liked just from my faint memory of it and rewatching it, I like it so much more than the movie that came before. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't at this point in my life. I wouldn't call it my favorite Michael Bay film. I would definitely give that to Six Underground still. Just
And that's a good
his
pick.
style. His style is fully fleshed out there. Anybody else who watches this is like, God, this guy is so fucking stupid. He doesn't know anything about movies. But I'm
the one who said that Pig was an okay film,
It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all right.
and I gave The Rock number 1.
Steven, I'm gonna give you props for the pick. And I will rewatch it soon and make sure that you know how I feel about it. So, yep.
Yeah,
Great.
I unabashedly love this thing. I don't know what the first time I watched it was the end of I was stuck in my room all day because I had to quarantine because of potential COVID exposure. So I was waiting a test, and I watched 4 movies that day, and The Rock was the last one, and it was so euphoric. I don't know what it was, but I was blown away by it, and I've loved it ever since. So,
This is the
I wanted to
highest.
bring something- I wanted to bring something up that was really kind of funny. Is that I did a triple feature of characters who could have died from falling off the roof. So in Willy's Wonderland, like they all fall down the roof, right? If you remember that. And then The Rock, there's the scene with Connery. And then the third movie I watched was Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. You thought that was an
great
interesting
feature.
All right.
All right. Well, yeah, that was Steven's number 1 pick. So if you guys want, we can talk about some of our favorite Cage performances, even though like we've mentioned a couple already talking about the movies.
I'm trying to think if there's anything we didn't talk about.
Yeah,
I think we covered all of them
Yeah.
pretty much.
I think we went. I think we did all of it. Like honestly, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, Face Off and Pig are my 2 favorite.
Pig
Yeah,
and
Vastly different.
Yeah, Bring Out
Adaptations
the
and
Dead.
Mandy for different reasons as well.
Bad Lieutenant, it's great. Yeah, those 2. Pig. is
even Las
pretty-
Vegas is great.
My picks are going to be a Pig adaptation and Raising Arizona in that order, 1, 2, 3. It's probably my pick for Nick Cage performances.
Yeah, he
No,
is.
I think I would have
Let me-
adaptation too as well.
Let me correct myself. My number 1 Nick Cage performance is G-Force, 100%.
Oh, he's in that too?
He's the
Is he a
villain.
voice actor? Is he a voice actor?
He's the mole.
Okay, so that's another voice acting role.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
John
true.
loved that.
That's such a good way to end the show.
Hey, the G-Force director, I believe, did the visual effects for
The
some
remake of the
Michael Bay
Bob.
films.
Yeah.
I believe it was The Rock in Armageddon, if I'm not mistaken. At least.
I didn't know that.
Armageddon for sure, maybe The Rock.
Yeah,
Okay.
It all comes full circle.
that's why
Yeah.
G-Force is so good.
Yeah.
They're-
All right.
Okay. Hey, if you stuck around this long, thanks.
yeah.
I don't think anybody's watching at this point.
That's your week.
No.
We're watching.
If anyone goes back though and watches it,
Yeah.
yeah, he did do visual effects for The Rock, so there we go.
Okay.
Some good Rex in here at least.
All right.
It's been real.
It has. All right. Well, I guess let's just end the show. If you guys are ready.
Yep.
Got any?
Good.
Yeah, that works. Whatever.
It was.
Got to
good
pull up
time.
the counter for today. Or count Steven bathroom counter 0.
What is Steven bathroom counter? Is it every time Steven uses the
Tarantino ranking. I used the bathroom 3 times.
Wow, we surpassed that one, and you didn't go once.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not very hydrated and I was drinking alcohol. And both of those
okay.
things were
That'll do it.
a thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Upcoming
Nick
shows.
Cage,
We
we love
got
you.
Stage to Screen musicals on Tuesday. There's no time yet. So,
Okay.
That'll be good.
yeah, that's it. Thanks for people who watched some of this and people who are going to be watching this later. Anything,
thanks. It
anything
was
you
real.
guys want to say before I end?
No, we're good. We're good, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
And Nick Cage, we love you. You're great.
Yeah, dude. Nick Cage, one of the best.
Continue voice acting.
Yes, please.
All right. Bye.